From deep in the heart of FEMA Region 6, Austin, Texas, transmitting worldwide, it's Alex Jones.
Well, every day is an information overload day here in the InfoWar. As we say, get next year's news here today, get tomorrow's news here today. Here's an example. We reported 6 months ago that the Threat Fusion GPS dossier had been used to get the fake FISA court garbage. And then months ago, congressional hearings also found that. But now they're having to admit it because finally it's all being subpoenaed. And John McCain had said, I didn't give them the dossier, and now he's been caught and his associates are being subpoenaed. I mean, that's just crazy how much these people lied. James O'Keefe has done it again with his great team at Project Veritas. He'll be joining us coming up later in the third hour. James O'Keefe has infiltrated, and his organization has infiltrated Twitter and talked to scores of people. We're going to air a 15-minute video coming up. It's on Infowars.com, where these individuals brag how they control conservatives, libertarians, Christians, ban everybody, how they spy on the president and his private communications on Twitter, and how they want to give it to Congress. The deep state isn't just the NSA and the CIA. The deep state is the corporations and the globalist organizations that are engaging in absolutely massive crimes, election fraud, you name it, in front of everybody. So that's coming up. Former Maricopa County Sheriff Joe Arpaio from there in Phoenix is neck and neck in the Senate race, and that's with media polls saying he's neck and neck. That probably means he's 10 points ahead. We've got the sheriff popping in as well, and then we've got John Rappaport of No More Fake News coming on. So a huge transmission guest-wise. But that said, wow. It's just crazy what's going on here. We have got the latest on Trump and the so-called DACA situation, where all he's doing is having negotiations and being nice to people. And they're saying he sold everybody out, but he's clear we're building the wall, and people that can't prove they were here peacefully since they were children are gone. And they've turned back the massive waves of illegals coming in, and have got huge raids happening across the country. Obama had ended the border and said, come here, period. We'll just legalize you outside law. Trump isn't a dictator. And so he can't just do everything we want. He has to get Congress to agree with him. And thank God he's got the trifecta. He's got the legislative, the executive, and the judicial. But for who knows how long. So people can get easy points out there going, oh, he's not perfect. You know, he says he's open to debate and discussion. That means he sold us out, when everything shows he does the opposite. And look, he's not perfect because he's not a dictator. And the media had articles yesterday going, oh, look, Jones wants him to be a dictator. No, I had Mark Faber on, the economist, Dr. Mark Faber, saying, look, Trump's doing an incredible job, but he's not a dictator. We're not saying we want him to be a dictator. We're saying he has to work with Congress, as Ron Paul has said many times. If he would have won for president, he wouldn't be a dictator, so it'd still be hard to get a lot of stuff through. You have to marvel at what Trump's gotten through. And look, it's not about marveling just at Trump. It's about appreciating how far we have come. So that is just some of what's coming up. And then we've got massive news on the Islamic invasion and the globalists being behind that. We also have Trump's new nuke posture. Draft allows nuclear response to conventional attacks and new warheads. That's really just continuing the new posture of the Pentagon about the last decade, which, again, goes back to 1953, when they wanted to use nukes against the 3 million Chinese troops that poured in to aid the other millions that had poured in against the outnumbered 10-to-1 U.S. troops and South Korean troops. And we would never have the North Korean problem or the Communist Chinese problem if we had gotten rid of Communist China back then, as MacArthur wanted to do. But instead, the globalists gave China the nukes, just like they gave the Russians the nukes, because they want global destabilization to bring in their world government as the answer to the crisis. It's all coming up. Oh, and another big one. Wait till you hear this one. You know what? Just wait till after the break, and I'll tell you about it. Thursday, January 11th, 2018. I'm your host, Alex Jones. We're going to be here live for the next 4 hours, and Owen Schroyer comes in as a fresh, strong, smart horse in the fight against the globalists at 3 o'clock Central. Of course, it all starts 8 a.m. every day with David Knight and the Real News kicks off here, Central Time, Infowars.com/show. UHF, VHF cable stations across the country, and as well as over 200 radio stations. By the way, we've had a satellite system for 2 years. Quite a few TV stations and cable systems picked it up, but it's not the one a lot of stations tell us they want. So in a few months, we're going to go off that satellite. But before then, I'm going to announce several new satellites and get that information out to the stations. I am setting up the TV affiliate group right now with John Harmon, who heads up our radio affiliate group, and of course Scott and others that we're getting lined up for all of that. That said, ladies and gentlemen, we have had a ton of UHF and VHF stations call us. I mean, we're talking 5, 10 a day wanting to pick it up. So I'm very excited that as soon as we put up the links to the new satellites and things that are very expensive, nevertheless, it's going to reach a lot of new markets, because we're not trying to get our own vanity channel on cable where there's 5,000 channels like some people tried and failed. I'm not a rocket scientist, but I knew Glenn Bextiel was destined to fail. It's not the old days where you go pay for a $20 million channel and it doesn't have carriage rights. That means it's not on the lower peg, the first 100 channels or so nobody watches it. But where there is an audience is UHF, VHF, and cable systems directly to program directors, station owners, and managers saying, hey, free to air, carry this radio/TV program anywhere you want, whenever you want. And I intend to basically have it be free to air where they can play over all the commercials, you name it. I just want to get the information out to the people during this critical historical time. So we're getting the people in place right now, trying to hire the folks, get them in place so that we can launch that. It takes capital. And I get so busy in the fight here that I hardly even plug products or talk about things. But we have amazing supplements, amazing water filtration, air filtration, Patriot apparel, books, videos, films, you name it. Speaking of that, we have joining us in studio today, Mike Norris, good friend of mine, famous director from film and TV. Of course, Chuck Norris's firstborn son, great guy. And he's written a powerful new screenplay, and it's been turned into a film, The Crossroads of Hunter Wild. And it's kind of a modern version, very powerfully done, of Pilgrim's Progress. So a battle as old as time itself being fought at the end of days. We're selling the new film, direct to DVD, direct to you. It's also going to air on national television. Usually things like the Hallmark and Lifetime channel, like his last films have, The Crossroads of Hunter Wild. And so we now have that exclusively available for you on DVD at InfoWarsStore.com. For a couple of weeks, it's exclusively there. So Mike Norris is going to be joining us in studio. Sheriff Joe Arpaio neck and neck in the key Senate race in Arizona. And, of course, we have the great, all these people are really great people. We need to celebrate them. James O'Keefe has done it again with his great team at Project Veritas. We're going to cover that first. He's joining us the third hour, but we're going to get into it right now. Undercover video. Twitter engineers to ban a way of talking through shadow banning algorithms to censor opposing political opinions. Now, he got scores of their operatives and their managers to admit how they're already doing this, but how it's going AI now, and how they use keywords to completely end and stop the sharing of Christian, conservative, libertarian, pro-nationalist, you name it, speech. And the big tech giants hire SJW, chip on their shoulder folks, right out of the colleges, where they're banning free speech, saying that we have no whites weekends, just all of this really unconstitutional Nazi-like behavior, but it's okay because it's the left doing it, and they create these cadres now and are deploying them into the technocracy, and it's serious civil rights violations. That's why big lawsuits are taking place, and that's why we're going to win. I'm quietly behind the scenes with some of these lawsuits that you're seeing launched right now against Google, Twitter, Facebook, and I'm going to become parties to these as well. Because in all of these lawsuits and in all these documents, undercover videos, they say our number one mission is shut down InfoWars and Alex Jones. And then we shut down the Christians, the conservatives, the nationalists, and, of course, Trump. And so you have them admitting they're discriminating and how they're doing it. And you have them at Facebook, Twitter, Google's platforms, And then they even brag about, yeah, we spy on Trump and his private messages and who's sending him messages. And the word is they even go in and delete key messages they don't want going to the president. So it's a powerful platform, but they're even discussing banning Trump because they want to isolate our president. Think how insane that is. So, undercover video, Twitter engineers to ban a way of talking, close quote, through, quote, shadow banning algorithms to censor opposing political opinions. I was told by engineers more than a decade ago that programs like Shazam, where you just hold up your smartphone and it knows what a song is in 10 seconds, that can be used for your own voice print and just ban your voice, period, on whole platforms. That's how specific it can get. Here's another one. Breaking, Twitter ready to give Trump's private DMs to DOJ. Facebook wants to put microphones and cameras in your home. That's out of the big leftist Metro, one of the biggest newspapers in England. So the same one that was promoting sexualization of children just last week. But see, they're just throwing it in your face, and you pay hundreds and hundreds of pounds, the equivalent of like $800, and the same things here in the U.S., where Facebook doesn't just have its own, what's Echo's? Is Facebook called Echo, and Amazon's called Alexa, and then Google's is called Assistant, right? But this has got a new name. So you pay to put this thing in your house because you want to be lazy, and then it's spying and listening to you, and the terms of service says it is. But now they say, oh, the new portal will actually watch and listen to you. They're already doing it, but they hide the Trojan horse in plain view. So we first reported this 18 years ago. We got the documents in 2006. Think about that. That's like 13 years ago. This is just incredible. And now here we are. And they're just, oh, we're watching you, we're listening to you. So get tomorrow's news 10 years before, Infowars.com. That's why they hate us, because we go read their white papers where they're admitting this total takeover of civilization, how they're creating monopolies artificially by shutting down their competition using government subsidies. Like Bezos is now worth $106 billion alone in stock. The richest man in the world, they say. And he literally is a giant fraud and is anti-free speech and owns a bunch of platforms pushing to have free speech shut down and the president thrown out of office. These are arrogant, horrible people. He's now worth $106 billion. 2 days ago, it was $104 billion. He's now making almost $1 billion extra a day because you have been Pavlovianly conditioned to go and buy everything you do there because you think you're getting a good deal, and it's shutting down civilization itself, and that's his plan. And he's deployed coffin apartments that are 250 square foot for you. You'll pay 5 times what they're worth for. But don't worry, Facebook wants to put microphones and cameras in your home. We'll tell you about that when we come back and how it ties into the FISA court, the spying on Trump. McCain now caught red-handed lying, saying he didn't give the dossier to the FISA court to give credibility. Of course, he did do that. The whole house of cards is coming down, at least as far as we now know what's going on. But are we going to do something about it? Stay with us. All right, I don't say this to brag. I say this just to be factual with all the audience that's been listening for a long time, or even people who have been listening 6 months. You can see 98% of the time, you get news here first, because we are dialed in to corporations, to government agencies, to people on the ground, the very smartest, informed experts on the planet. We got Project Veritas coming on. We got Sheriff Arpaio coming on, neck and neck in the Senate race, like the Phoenix, coming back from political death, literally the Phoenix, pardoned by the president. You learned he was going to get pardoned here. We pushed for it here. We get the intel of the president, just like the Assange info is now a story on Drudge Report. We told you he'd be getting his passport soon. We told you the way was getting cleared in federal courts by the president for him to get basically a shadow pardon. And now it's happening. He's been issued the visa to basically go to Switzerland. So there's so many things we tell you that are on target because we know what we're doing. But that's why we're under attack. That's why they have congressional hearings saying they want to ban us. That's why in these internal Google videos and YouTube videos and Facebook videos and Twitter videos, They call everybody else Christians and conservatives and traditionalists and nationalists and pro-military groups and pro-America groups. But they only say really a few names. Donald Trump, Alex Jones. Donald Trump, Alex Jones. Because what we're doing is what scares them. And I'm not up there going, oh, look, I'm the big swing and you know what? I'm number one. It's what we're saying is on target. That's why they're fearing it. So it's the information that sets us free. It's the truth that sets us free. So I'm saying we're under massive attack. I mean, can you imagine what Soros and the Democrats and the globalists do behind the scenes? I'm not going to make a big deal about it, but they infiltrate, they do stuff, they punch people's buttons, they go for people's weaknesses, they come after us. And by the grace of God, we've made it through a lot of stuff that one day I'll write a book about. It's epic, okay? But know this, your prayers, your support, your financial support is the seawall that has held up against them and all of their censorship and their attacks. So again, from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you all. And I just want to ask you to recommit, and if you've never purchased products from us, to go to InfoWarsStore.com. I mean, the supplements we've got like X2 or Alpha Power, one of our newer products with a real red pill, or our high-quality colloidal silver, or our latest product, Immune Wall. It's got all of the known modern and ancient compounds to just massively boost your immune system. This is so critical this time of year. It's discounted 25% off out of the gate. You owe it to yourself to go to InfoWarsStore.com and check out the thousands of great products, the T-shirts, the books, the films, the non-GMO heirloom seeds. Spring will be here in a few months. And to support the InfoWar. So you're why we're here. Thank you. And we need more continued intensified support in the face of the enemy and their new counteroffensives that are public but also private. InfoWarsStore.com or 888-253-3139, 888-253-3139. There's also a mailing address that's on the website that I really should give out more often but never do. And there's also a support us button where you can just flat out donate at InfoWarsStore.com. We don't have the billions that Soros has, but we have the truth and we're crushing them. So again, thank you all. Now, continuing. And I'm going to play some more of this coming up in the next segment, and then we're going to have, again, James O'Keefe here out of the gates as this big story breaks to go over it all. It's the top story on Drudge Report. The video is posted on InfoWars and NewsWars, ProjectVeritas.com. Undercover video, Twitter engineers to ban a way of talking through shadow banning algorithms to censor opposing political views. It's not just words, it's not cuss words, it's you talking to people where it just can't be seen, it just can't be heard. You go, well, let's just move away from Facebook and Twitter. Well, then they're going to move on to your website itself. They're already trying. They're on Media Matters everywhere saying, shut Alex Jones down. Get him off the air. And what they do is, again, they take these leftists into these colleges, they brainwash them, they get them all together, they're all SJWs, and they sit around and they celebrate how they are discriminating and censoring and then lying about it in the news. They won't even let congresswomen run their political ads wearing a nice dress with their family saying, we love America, we love free market, we love God, please vote for me for Congress. They just say, no, you can't have that on your own website, your own sub-site on Facebook or Twitter. So they were planning when Hillary got in to go out and do this to everybody. That's admitted. They were planning to shut it all down. They had half of the Federal Elections Commission in the news, as well as the Federal Trade Commission, saying we're going to just shut down Matt Drudge. Even though he's the #1 traffic center to places like the Washington Post, the New York Times, they want him shut down. He's just a bunch of links showing, here's McCain saying he never had the dossier and didn't help get it to FISA. Here it is confirmed. They don't like that. They don't like us even showing Obama saying Obamacare's free. Later, I never said that. They just don't like the power of memory. And InfoWars or Drudge or other sites going, hey, remember when they said this? Well, here's now where they said that. Or remember when Oprah stuck her tongue and Weinstein's here? Remember when she supposedly brought women to him for him to abuse? Remember all that? Well, here's where she said it. Here she is now saying men are inherently bad. No, pigs like you are bad, no matter what color they are or what sex they are. And then you have Facebook rolling out their new system where it watches you and listens and tracks everything you do, and all the other companies. There's a race by the internet and tech giants. There's more than 50 of these assistants. They're not assistants. They are two-way spies, and now they're going to have cameras on them. And finally, mainstream media today says they're going to spy on you, and it's 1984. For 18 years, we've told you specifically of this plan, now 19, with precision. Do we get a pat on the back? Do people say, oh, no, now it's coming to be ubiquitous. Now they're rolling it out. Now they're going to say, okay, it's Big Brother. But they're not going to go back and say, oh, look, Alex Jones told you about it first, because they don't want you to listen to me now about what's coming in a year or 2 years or 10 years or 20 years, because I'm going to be spot on, because I'm going off their own white papers. And that's the most important thing I've ever said, is that 95% of their operation is public. It's super creepy. It's anti-human. It's anti-family. It's anti-Christian. And it calls itself transhumanist and believes it's going to become God. And now Elon Musk tells you, I go to the meetings with the other billionaires. There is a consensus to end humanity and merge with machines, and they worship the AI God that they believe they're building. Please, we're in danger. We're in danger. Elon Musk, word for word, says exactly what I said 18 years ago. And you know, he's now working with the Pentagon and some of the patriots who see this plan, see the military takeover by the big companies, know it's a new type of threat, an AI takeover, and they're not against technology. They just realize this is being deployed out of the gates to be anti-human. And so there's now a deep state fight with the patriots in our government against Silicon Valley, owned by the Chi-Coms and the globalists. So this is it. And they hired the last generation of humans that are going to work in tech, these throwaway SJWs that'll engage in censorship and control because they think they're fighting racists, who are now admittedly training the AI computers to replace them, and they even say it on video and don't get what they're saying. Talk about chumps. We'll be back. I'm Alex Jones. Spread the live links and spread the local affiliates, local stations. All right, folks, we are back live, and I want to plow into the whole surveillance state situation. But when you read about the articles, oh, Facebook's got a new thing, and Google's got a new thing, and it's way past Alexa. It's got cameras on it. You have to understand, it was Sony and it was Microsoft with their Kinect and PlayStation platforms going back almost a decade ago that first got people to accept cameras and microphones openly in your house that, quote, hackers would hack into, and that could send out radio waves, a type of sonar or radar that can see through walls in your house and actually basically videotape you, send digital live images back. Well, sure, you use it for role-playing, you use it for playing the games you're in, but what you've done is taken a snooping system into your house. And I'm there telling people all this, and they'd have news articles going, Jones is insane. He says your Kinect is watching and listening to you. And then a couple years later, you hear about all the hackings and all the home invasions and how hackers used it to get in your house, or how surveillance cameras you put on your house or inside your house. The hackers can get into them in minutes, so they're then watching you. And I'm not even an engineer. I'm reading the white papers. I'm reading the industry papers and going, this is what this does, but they wanted it ubiquitous. They wanted it put in everywhere before they admitted the problems with it, so that you would go, I've already got a habit. I didn't know cigarettes gave me lung cancer, but, you know, I'm smoking them now. I'm going to keep doing it. Now, that's how it was back in the 20s, 30s, 40s. But by the time they told you, hey, this will probably kill you, well, I'm already addicted. That's just the way it is. And it's breaking down civilization. It's breaking down societies. It is absolutely destroying the fabric of human communication. And suddenly, when they know it's pretty much too late for a lot of people, then the Facebook and Twitter and Google execs come out and say, you know, we're really sorry. We set out to make this addictive and to control the dopamine in your brain and little rewards and things to make you spend all your time on this so we can control your life and make you depressed and control you. But people are like already addicted. They're like, I don't care. It's like selling kids at the playground when they're 10 years old, drugs for 6 months until they're totally strung out and addicted. And by the time you've got them turning tricks when they're 11 years old for heroin money, they don't care anymore. You're like, by the way, I strung you out. It was wrong. I did it. I'm sorry. My name's Sean Parker. Forgive me. Because by then, they're going to organize the rehabilitation centers and the think tanks that they've already beta tested to help get you out of all this and to help you back into society. And they're, of course, going to be globalist bent as well. South Korea already has them. Japan already has them. Universities are already studying them here in the U.S. This is a re-education camp program where you're reprogrammed, where your brain is brought into a arrested development near sleep state. Then you will pay to be, quote, brought back out of it, but guided by the new religion, the new tech religion of the tech companies that are the experts on what they did to you and are now going to help you. Now, you just got, for 10 years in the future, what's happening. Get tomorrow's news today, next year's news today, 20 years news today, because the future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed. There are spots of high tech in corporations, in government, in military, in other systems that are 30, 40 years advanced. They've already tested it. They've already rolled it out. They've already looked at it with focus groups and psychological testing groups and used it on prisoners and tested it on animals. They've looked at every facet to prepare it for rollout. They don't just roll this stuff out without first having a blueprint and seeing where they're going. But they didn't count on you. They didn't count on me. They didn't count on executives of Time Warner and of Google and of major firms really being concerned about this and blowing the whistle starting about 25 years ago. And I got on the air 22 and a half years ago, 23 years ago, and I had people coming out of the woodwork to tell me all this. I was just get rid of the private Federal Reserve, conservatism, Second Amendment, land rights, kind of a more mainline libertarian conservative, until I got all the data by the real experts. And Bill Clinton sent the military after me to get me to intimidate me and threaten people. And then I just fell into this whole world about 20 years ago. First few years, I was a pro-Americana guy, but then I fell through to the next level, and it was like, whoa. And now 20 years later, as a lay individual, just journalist, citizen, experiencing all this just like you're experiencing it, I'm one of the leading experts in the world at our level. Imagine the globalists at the top with the blueprints they don't release. They've got it all systematically laid out. They brag about it now, and that's their downfall. But they all say, Eric Schmidt, all of them, that we are obsolete. We're all gone. We better hope they don't wipe us all out. But then the decision's been made to just go ahead and do it. Okay. So we're going to have a debate about this. We're going to have a discussion about this. This is the entire system. We're on a planet with a technocracy that's decided to get rid of most of us. It's not aliens. They just think they are aliens. They say we're going to be a new species. We're going to worship a new tech god we create. This is their religion. I didn't just make that up in Endgame where I've got scores of them quoted as saying that. And there were people like Bill Joy warning people, just like Elon Musk. Bill Joy goes, yeah, I went to a retreat of over 200 tech heads, and the whole thing was about, do we kill everybody? And the consensus was, yeah. So, the Nazis, they started out in the 20s. And they were bad news. And they picked up the eugenic system that had come out of England and the U.S. and was funded by the Rockefellers, historical fact, Kaiser Wilhelm Institute, Cold Springs Harbor Facility, New York, all of it. Funded in Prussia, and it was funded in New York. Prussia, Germany, New York, outside New York, Cold Springs Harbor. And now you're just seeing the super advanced version of it. And you notice it's race-based. They've got the, quote, minorities and the white bots. In the video we're about to play in the next segment, all bragging how we shut down the conservatives, we hate white people, we hate Christians, we control everything, we're bringing in AI algorithms, it'll be unstoppable, we won't have to do any work anymore. They're talking about their own personal power trip being gone. They were trained to be the race baiters, to go in and bring in a total obsession with race, to turn humans against each other, to then bring in and train the AI and to test it and tweak it and then turn it over. And Facebook, Google, and Twitter all testified a month ago that don't worry, to the Armed Services Committee, don't worry, we've almost got the algorithms ready where we won't just have to personally stop InfoWars at lunch. We'll be able to stop them before they ever get it out. And the congressman goes, good. Do you understand? This isn't a movie. This is really happening. And then Veritas goes inside one of their parties, and they're all getting drunk, bragging, oh, we rule everything. We're going to soon. It's almost in place. And we spy on the president. We read his private tweets. That piece of garbage. Think about it. You want to see the video? Dim lawmaker demands InfoWars be censored. And then the tech heads go, sir, we shut them down at lunch. And I keep going back to that because you understand how big this is. Just like the last Veritas video of the Google execs, the YouTube execs, going, our main job is to stop Alex Jones. And Veritas is like, why? Well, we've been told to. Because I read what the tech heads said. That's all. They never thought anyone would actually read what they said and do something. We have the Death Star plans. We are the rebels. We are the alliance. We are the resistance. We must stop the technocracy now. We must politically blow up the Death Star. All right. Again, James O'Keefe's coming up in the third hour, but I'm not going to have time when he's on with us to play all these clips. There's like 30 minutes, but we've got 15 of it that is Twitter operative after Twitter operative after Twitter operative on video bragging how they're censoring people in live time and how they're going to have total control with AI systems that are now being put in place. Now, again, we had this a month ago in congressional hearings. But they're not saying we're getting rid of the racists, we're getting rid of whatever. We're just shutting down whatever we don't want to be discussed. And then by social engineering, you can make everyone on these communities that have billions of people. Facebook's got like 3 billion. Twitter's got like 1.5 billion. Make you conform in something like a giant communist China that then scores you according to how you conform and how you go along. First you say, if a man wants to be called a woman, you got to give him a pap smear even though he doesn't have a cervix. Next, you're going to call me a golden female dragon. And you're going to call me an ornate, beautiful building. At Google, you don't do that, you're fired. I am a golden dragon. Call me one. Yes, you're a golden dragon. Good. And they get everybody in these big auditoriums, and it's re-education camp, folks. Don't you recognize it when it really happens? And their internal documents say it. They create the cult on the bases. They get them out of the university primed. They bring them in. They've got them already from Facebook, Google, Twitter, exactly their profile. They look in their classified profile, a private intelligence agency. It's what it is, the technocracy. They bring you in and they put you where they want you. Then they deploy you to go out and censor everybody. But you're only good on the first phase. They've already started censoring the liberals and people that have their own sites and PewDiePie and people that aren't controlled. And YouTube comes and says, we demonetized you a year ago. You just lost $50 million. We're ready to work with you. We want you to start saying what we want you to say. And by the way, if you just tuned in, Fox News reported, we first reported it, I'm just saying, if you don't believe me, Google, at their executive meetings, executives give speeches and identify as yellow-scaled, wingless dragonkin, I guess it's a baby dragon, and an expansive, ornate building. Do you understand? This is AI warfare. See how it looks funny? It looks silly? You've got, in 1984, he wants Winston Smith to not see 2 + 2 = 4, 2 + 2 = 5, but to be whatever O'Brien said. And finally, he breaks him where he puts up 4 fingers. He says, what's 2 + 2? And Winston says, what is it? He says it's 7. And he goes, yes, it is 7. And he sees 7 fingers go up, even though there's 4 in front of his face. I am a golden dragon. You are a golden dragon. I am an ornate building. You are an ornate building. I'm coming into the hospital. I'm a man with a beard and tattoos that weighs 250 pounds, and I'm going to get up in the stirrups, and the nurse is going to examine my cervix. And the doctors go, get in there. Go to the and she's like, he's got male genitals. And they're like, you're in trouble. Yes, you will say it. Yes, the nurse goes in. Well, your cervix looks like it's fine. It's scientific. It's the Tavistock Institute. They were writing about this plan in the 60s. Back then, they would have the psychiatrist test on their own kids. Some famous ones, you can read about it, had their children grow up in small boxes so that they would be totally controlled by whatever the stimuli was put in. You can't make this stuff up. Ladies and gentlemen, this is high-tech psychology targeting children, targeting adults by a group that wants to totally jackknife humanity, where we're so cattywampus that we can't even get our shoelaces tied. This is how they take us down. This is it. And why do they want me shut down? Because I'm nobody. They said all this. They're doing it. I'm simply going, red alert, red alert, red alert, red alert. Here it is, here it is, here it is, here it is, here it is. This is how you stop them. The Kinects and the Xboxes, I told you before, 2 years before they came out, like 10 years ago. Look it up. We did reports on it here ad nauseum. They're watching you. They're listening. It goes back to a central AI computer to war game the new systems they're going to roll out as digital assistants because they were putting it in the prospectuses for the shareholders. How did I know exactly what was? But remember. Now, there it is, 2014. That was an old article. Government spies on you through Xboxes. Yeah, that's a regurgitation of something like 6 years old at that point. The point is that, that was in Snowden. Yeah, showed by this. That's in Snowden's documents in 2014. Now, type in Infowars.com at the end of the search and type in connect to spy on you. And you will see it from 2009, if my memory serves. I want you to see that you got from us what was in the Snowden documents years later. New Xbox reportedly won't let you play unless it can spy on you. Adon Salazar. That's 2013. I want to keep going back here. Okay? Yes, of course we were first, but you have to go back to before it even came out. And I'm not bragging here. You have to see, you have to understand why they're so afraid. Because if this ever takes off what we're doing, it's already taken off with Trump and nationalism and everything else, it's over. Their plan is very easy to defeat if you admit you've been inserted into it. But you're meant to not know it's going on and just be eased into it and just accept it as your environment. And then they believe you will adapt to the new environment that's artificial and then be captured within their artificial environment. End of the species. End of line. And these idiots are building the machines that will take over, like in Tron. He's been gone for a few hours. Executive comes in and is bossing the AI around. He goes, listen, I'll set you up with your bank accounts and have you in prison for all the fraud you're engaged in. He's like, you weren't like this an hour ago. And he goes, I'm 2,973 times smarter than I was before that. I'm in charge now. End of line. Let's get out of here. So I didn't get to that video. There's so much more to get to. And we've got Mike Norris coming in here with his great new film and some more great Chuck Norris stories. And we've also got so much more. I haven't even gotten into all this. How they're spinning that Trump, again, is selling us out on DACA. He's getting ready to do the deals. He isn't a dictator. He's got to get Congress to work with him. He's already cut back the immigration 70%, deported millions of people that were here illegally. Hundreds of thousands of Hondurans just got cut off 2 days ago. They've got all these record raids going. And he's saying, if you really are been here since you were a kid, you're not a criminal, or and you can prove some of this to the court, yeah, we'll let you stay. That's what he said during the campaign. But again, people can get points, and I'm not knocking them, but conservatives going, he sold us out, but I'm not. I'm Ann Coulter, and I'm never going to sell you out. Well, you write news articles, sweetheart. You don't have to get Congress to do it. As of now, he killed Obama's unconstitutional DACA that said anybody that can get here can stay here and then bring your family in. That a 45-year-old man with no proof could just come here and say he was born here or was here when he was a little kid. So the proof's in the pudding, and the court's battling the president. So that's all coming up. But whatever you do, they're censoring us. They're attacking us. And my fight is your fight. If they can shut down InfoWars and block sharing the live links on Facebook, YouTube, Google, share them. If they block you, do your own video. Report on it. Fight the censorship now. Don't kind of go along with it and hope they leave you alone till later. I mean, I had Facebook, again, about 2.5 years ago, got contacted by other people off record. I mean, hell, we've got like heads of their whole operations, the whole group's calling us wanting to start a dialogue. It's like the red line across North and South Korea. So the North Korea calls over here, but they always just kind of want to, you want to fly to New York? You want to fly here? It's like, we're going to give you this thing. It's just now coming out. Nobody's got it yet, only like 100 people. And you're going to have millions of viewers. And it was millions of viewers every day. They said, just leave us alone. And then about a month in, I wouldn't leave them alone, so they turned it down to like 100,000 to watch. And then they turned it down to nobody being able to watch. And it's like, of course. I mean, how do you think this works with these people? It's total authoritarianism. We'll be right back. Stay with us. The Bible says many times, nothing hidden will remain hidden. Everything will be shown. Even things thrown in the deepest ocean will one day be cast back up on the sand of the beach. And I should have even led the show with this. The big breaking news yesterday, it's up on Infowars.com. Documents detail plan for civil unrest and martial law in Baltimore. How Obama planned to use, through the Soros funding, trigger events to cause nationwide race war that would bring in martial law. And then you look at what the Loretta Lynch and others were pushing and the Strong Cities Initiative, it was all right there. That story is so powerful. And again, we are going to get into a big map of dossier culprits. And we've got a big map we're going to put up on screen behind us at the bottom of the hour that our crew has put together, working with some of the other composites that are already online to show how the scam to set up Trump went through the fake dossier, which is now confirmed to have been through the Clintons and their operatives, and then McCain to make it look credible, to the FBI and the threat GPS system. So all of that is coming up in this hour with Mike Norris. But some of the other news that we're going to be getting to that is central to all of this is a hero, Julian Assange, who helped put out really balanced information, especially during the campaign, to show just how evil and corrupt Hillary was, that the FBI was corrupt at that level in that special area the Clintons had set up with the director, with the deputy director, McCabe, and others, to both protect them from their crimes, but also go set up the then candidate Trump and then President Trump. But as we first reported, the moves have been made in court to let Assange no longer be under investigation by U.S. grand juries. And Trump lawyers have argued in court that he is not a criminal, and that we reported last week, and DrudgeReport.com linked to it. Just pointing out that, again, Drudge Report, next week's news today, that he was going to be given a passport, according to our sources. And now Ecuador issues Assange a passport as plan develops to remove him from London safely. And that ties into so much more. Meanwhile, also coming up, by 2040, Islam could be the second largest religion in the United States. That's from CNN. Meanwhile, Swedish city sees 300% increase in shootings in 2017. 90+% is Islamic, so-called immigrant invader crime. Sweden had very low crime before, but if you report on the ethnicity or religion, you get arrested now, if it's a Muslim. Shock memo, Democrats admit they need illegal immigrants to win elections to vote in the list of dead people the Democrats compile and brag on video to Project Veritas and others. They do. That's a new article up on Infowars.com. Also, German study, almost 1 in 3 Muslim students would fight and die for Islam. So that is just some of the news that we've got coming up. Continuing here, O'Keefe exposes Twitter shadow banning. He'll be joining us. How they're blocking opposing views, how they're going to use AI computer systems to do it. So again, ladies and gentlemen, there is so much we're going to be going over here today. We're also going to be getting into the fact that the New York Times is continuing to race bait and attack the president along those lines. And the really big news as well, Trump's new nuke posture draft allows nuclear response to conventional attack and new warheads. That is a big development as well. Oh, and of course, this is even bigger. It's being announced by White House officials that Trump is to end NAFTA soon because it's a one-sided trade deal, and that ending NAFTA would slow down illegal immigrants. And then they got the big studies breaking it down in a Kit Daniels article at Infowars.com. But they're trying to undermine Trump's base, claiming he's going to sell us out on immigration when all he's ever done is get us good deals. Does it mean it'll be 100% of what we want to stabilize the country's sovereignty? No, but right now, Obama and the globalists just have the country wide open. He's got to go in there and change it to stop the bleeding. We'll be back. Ladies and gentlemen, we're back live now well into the second hour. James O'Keefe of Project Veritas is joining us in the next hour, as well as Sheriff Joe Arpaio running for Senate. Now, many polls have him in the lead. Establishment polls have him in a dead even heat. So talk about rising from the ashes like the Phoenix in the city of Phoenix to the state of Arizona and the country of the United States of America. It's certainly the season of the rising of the Phoenix with populism, nationalism, popular, the New World Order in trouble, the stock market, the economy, jobs coming back. It is crazy. It is an amazing time. Now, my good friend, got to know him really well over the years, knew his dad before I even knew him. Mike Norris is here with us in the studio. He's got a new film we'll talk about in the next segment, The Crossroads of Hunter Wild. Hollywood free, made in Texas, funded in Texas, everything right here in Texas. We're going to talk about that, play the trailer, and so much more coming up. But again, Mike Norris joining us here in studio. So much to get into, so much to talk about. Look how far we've come since your dad 20, 30 years ago would speak out against the New World Order, and, even in WorldNet Daily articles, talk about geoengineering, and, Alex Jones is right, and come on the show some, of course, Chuck Norris. And then, of course, the big films you produced for, Hollywood, but also for cable television, Lifetime, Hallmark, you name it. Very successful, but now you've got The Crossroads of Hunter Wild. But just sitting back, we didn't pre-interview. I saw you out there 5 minutes before you came on. The state of the world, I don't think we've turned the tide yet, but man, there was really nobody fighting back except a few folks before. The world has really changed. What period in time do you think we're in right now, Mike Norris?
We're in the greatest time ever. We're making America great again. We've got great people around just speaking the truth everywhere. And I think the elites are going down. And I think this is such an exciting time. And I'm happy to be alive. I'm proud to witness it. I'm making America great again.
What's your dad think of all this?
He loves it. He loves it. He's proud. He loves what President Trump is doing. He's very engaged. I just read another article he put out this morning on WorldNet Daily talking about Little Rocket Man. So I love it. I'm excited. I'm optimistic, at least where we're at for the next 7 years.
Trump, I think, is overperforming from what I thought, because he's not a dictator. He can't, and the media spun that when I said that yesterday, like, oh, it's a good thing. I'm saying, no, all I'm saying is he's not a dictator. He's got to work with Congress. I'm surprised how good a tax deal he got, how much they've controlled the border, the stock market, the jobs. It's crazy.
No, I love it. And I think that thing that happened the other day where he brought the cameras into the negotiation on DACA, I thought was an amazing thing for him to do. I love it. I'm all in. I'm just curious to see where everything goes. Hey, I know that guy.
Yeah, we're showing some of your trailer right now. We're going to get to the film coming up in the next segment, guys. Thanks. Again, Mike Norris is here with us. You're seeing some on screen of the film we're going to talk about later, The Crossroads of Hunter Wild. And we're going to get your headset plugged in, too, so you can hear it the next break. Expanding on that, you've made films about the globalists, the New World Order. You've been speaking about it for decades, fighting it. This is super positive, but they are striking back.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing with this film, Crossroads of Hunter Wild, after we did Amerigeddon, that was such a large film. It took a long time, big budget. What I wanted to do was kind of strip everything down and really get into a story about what would the world look like if civil war actually took place, everybody factioned up, and a spiritual warfare broke out within our country. And
that's already happened.
Yeah, no,
it's starting.
But a lot of it had to do with the way you were talking years ago about the demonic entities of not only Hollywood but the government, everything. Hey, if there's a God, there's a devil. And the devil is after believers all over the country. And we've got to be prepared, and we got to be ready to fight for our faith, for our country, for everything. But that's the thing with Crossroads of Hunter Wild. It deals with the spiritual battle that can take place within us.
And we're going to play the trailer and talk about it next segment. The reason, and I'm glad you raised that, we just got the documents here. And we've got all the public statements by Antifa about rising up, taking over, triggering something for martial law. This is really what they're pushing. So a very, very timely film. When you see them failing, though, on every front, when you see Soros starting to fail, What do you think they're going to do next? They're not going to give up.
Man, you know, Alex, I wish I knew. I really wish I knew what they were going to do. They're not going to give up. I'm a little nervous to see, you know, what the millennials, so to say, you know, I think they're so brainwashed that they will follow anything without any thought to it. So a little curious to see what happens with them, but you know what? We're going to kick their butts everywhere. We're going to beat them, Alex. We are going to win this battle.
Absolutely. And, of course, none of us are going to save the world by ourselves without God's help. But every little thing we do sends ripples out. And if you look at, you know, Generation Z is more libertarian, more Christian, more conservative than ever. So, I mean, it really is the millennials. A lot of them are great people, but some of them that have been so brainwashed, and then some of the globalist controllers above them that are fighting so hard because they can see the writing on the wall.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, it was interesting. I was speaking with a friend of mine, Richard Berry, and what we did with Hunter Wild was we took it out and we did church screenings all over Texas. And I was coming back and I was just feeling a little, you know, confused. Something was going on with Trump. I don't remember what it was. And I called him. This is a guy I've never met in my life, but we spoke on the phone, and he's in Orange County. Full conservative, loves Trump, but he's got to kind of, you know, keep it under wraps out there. And I was going, you know, what's going on with all this Twitter? You think this is really necessary? And he told me, he goes, you know what? It's got to be. He has got to keep tweeting.
Because he's got to change the subject from their disinfo.
Exactly. Exactly. And it may be a little off, but it's his words. And I love it. So I've come to embrace it. And I look forward to those tweets.
Well, see, that's what it is about conservatives and libertarians and Christians, is we don't want to be arrogant. We don't want to be out in people's face. We don't want to look like we're starting stuff. But the globalists and the left, they have been leading the narrative and bullying us, so we've got to get wild on them.
No, absolutely. We've got to fight back.
Yeah.
We've got to fight back, and it means fighting everywhere on social media. You know, I've got it all over my Facebook feed, you know, and you can kind of see the shift a little bit where people are now coming out a little more, feeling a little more comfortable going, hey, I support the...
Because they're trying to bully everybody into not supporting the resurgence of the republic, the resurgence of real freedom. Exactly. It's all about being heard and not sitting on the fence. Everybody's got to, and I agree. I think the bullying, they took people's restraint as fear and their kindness for weakness. And now that we're coming off the bench, more people are coming in. I'm seeing it cause a bigger backlash, all this censorship. Did you see where Facebook, Twitter, Google all admit to censoring conservatives, libertarians, Trump? They admit to creating systems with algorithms to just block conservatives even being able to talk to each other, period, about the price of tea.
They're going to keep fighting. They're going to keep fighting. We're going to keep fighting. And somewhere we're going to meet, and somewhere we are going to win. I know it. I know it. I'm really excited about what's going on. I'm really excited. But you know what? For us, we've just got to keep in it. We got to keep spreading the word. We got to keep supporting.
Because we have, I mean, the Veritas video exactly is all these people at meetings and then out at the bars, in classrooms, how they're going to censor, how they're going to shut us down, how they're going to end our speech, period, while they're denying it publicly.
Yeah.
This is organized crime, in my view.
That's a good point. It is organized crime. It really...
Mike Norris, stay there. We're going to get into the film now. When we come back on the other side, the...
From deep in the heart of FEMA Region 6, Austin, Texas, transmitting worldwide, it's Alex Jones.
Well, every day is an information overload day here in the InfoWar. As we say, get next year's news here today, get tomorrow's news here today. Here's an example we reported.
From deep in the heart of FEMA Region 6, Austin, Texas, transmitting worldwide, it's Alex Jones.
Well, every day is an information overload day here in the InfoWar. As we say, get next year's news here today, get tomorrow's news here today. Here's an example we reported 6 months ago that the Threat Fusion GPS dossier had been used to get the fake FISA court garbage. And then months ago, congressional hearings also found that. But now they're having to admit it because finally it's all being subpoenaed. And John McCain had said, I didn't give them the dossier, and now he's been caught and his associates are being subpoenaed. I mean, that's just crazy how much these people lied. James O'Keefe has done it again with his great team at Project Veritas. He'll be joining us coming up later in the third hour. James O'Keefe has infiltrated, and his organization has infiltrated, Twitter and talked to scores of people We're going to air a 15-minute video coming up. It's on Infowars.com, where these individuals brag how they control conservatives, libertarians, Christians, ban everybody, how they spy on the president and his private communications on Twitter, and how they want to give it to Congress. The deep state isn't just the NSA and the CIA. The deep state is the corporations and the globalist organizations that are engaging in absolutely massive crimes, election fraud, you name it, in front of everybody. So that's coming up. Former Maricopa County Sheriff Joe Arpaio from there in Phoenix is neck and neck in the Senate race, and that's with media polls saying he's neck and neck. That probably means he's 10 points ahead. We've got the sheriff popping in as well, and then we've got John Rappaport of No More Fake News coming on. So
a demon trying to take the soul of a man with the faith of a mustard seed. And it's very simple. I just wanted to really just go tell a story.
Well, I got to say, it all looks excellent, but it looks first rate, the riot scenes and stuff. Wow. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, and you know, I just wanted to create a world of chaos. And I was trying to think, you know, at the time I was writing this, I'm going, man, you know, the election had just happened. There was a lot of chaos and confusion going out. So, you know, I just kind of put our story in that world, you know, where, you know, the two sides came together, and this is what we're left with. So, spiritual battle, spiritual warfare, it's real. And
these are great to show at your church, or to buy and give to your library, or to show your family, but particularly Christian audiences. But outside of that, excellent new film available at InfoWarsStore.com. And again, as your purchase there supports the new films that you make. And, of course, you've directed major movies, TV shows, and Walker, Texas Ranger. You did a lot of those?
Oh, yeah. A lot of those 10 years. That was a great job.
It's amazing. Wow. So, again, getting back into the film, I've been a Christian my whole life, and I've had a personal relationship, you know, with Christ. But I'm also a worldly person. I'm not perfect, and I don't lie about that. We all have our trials and tribulations. But as I get more immersed in politics and life and the way the world really works, and study things, and have been out to Hollywood at the highest levels like you've been, and have seen behind the scenes, there really are pedophiles, devil worshipers, corruption. There really is a spirit. It really is anti-human. And you were here 3 years ago, 2 years ago, a year ago, and you said it's all about to come down. Last time you were here, like a year ago, the pedophilia, the evil, the raping the women, all of it. So you grew up into the cool guys. You know, Steve McQueen taught you how to ride a motorcycle because he was one of your dad's students.
Yep.
People forget how long your dad's been around the phenomenon. He looks like he's 50, but, you know, he's been around forever. And so now you just said, I don't want to get into it, but, man, they're devil worshippers, they're pedophiles. Now that so much has come out, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, you know, that's just crazy what's happening with Hollywood right now.
But you broke it here years ago.
Yeah, but little did I know. You know, we were just talking, and that was my view from what I've seen. And sure enough, I mean, the lid's just blown off of Hollywood. I think with everything, with our country, with Hollywood, with everything,
things are being revealed.
Things are being revealed, and I think it's very important. But with things being revealed, we'll be able to, you know, make new again. I really believe we'll be able to make new again. Look, Hollywood's Hollywood. I don't deal with it. I don't want to deal with it. The film we did, Crossroads of Hunter Wild, Texas crew, Texas cast, everything was Texas.
And again, it doesn't have the $100 million budgets. It doesn't matter. It's the story and the people that are involved. And that's what we're growing here is new independent cinema. And so many new independent Christian films now are dwarfing Hollywood.
Yeah. And you know what? I didn't want to fake anything or pretend anything on this movie. It is what it is. It's a very independent film. We didn't do the big drone shots to make a little budget film look big or anything like that. We're just telling a story about spiritual warfare. I
can't wait to watch it because it just came in today.
And you know what's really cool is this is one of the first movies that my dad watched, then he rewatched, and he says, son, what can I do to help you? I said, hey, if you could just say anything, you know, about the film and we could help us put it out there, that would be great. And sure enough, he did this great video for us saying, hey, this is one of the finest films I've seen.
Do we have that video? Do we load that video in?
You got it. Chuck Norris approved.
Yeah, let's go ahead and play Chuck Norris approved, The Crossroads of Hunter Wild. I should have started the whole interview with that, baby. I've got a list here of some of the videos we're going to be playing. Go ahead and roll that.
Oh, my special little demon. You've managed a little fear and chaos, and yet here you sit, alone.
Chaos and fear, or a time-honored operative's tool.
So a panic, doubt, pride, Lust, political distractions, these are but the afterthoughts of good field operations. Is this all you desire?
I have spent a millennia in the field.
A millennia is but a speck of time. No!
What am I doing wrong?
Aside from using time and space travel and dimension alteration with the finesse of a three-legged dog?
All right. Show me. Anything. It's more effective.
Targets, like Hunter Wild, thrive on chaos. It creates an adrenaline rush which simply focuses him not on us. The more you fling at him, the less likely he is to succumb. That will not be enough to drag him back to your cage. I want to keep you there, but you've chosen a very tricky human.
And again, that's another part. We're going to come back with Chuck Norris approving, Chuck Norris talking about the film. That's kind of the screw tape letter angle of the demons, which is riveting, figuring out how to manipulate and control humans.
Yeah, it's what they talk about. The things that they use to create chaos. They use political distractions. They use pride. They use all these things that infiltrates the believer or just the Americans that kind of sends them off kilter a little bit. So, yeah, it's...
Well, this is a film I'm definitely going to show my children, particularly because they love God. I try to talk about God. We try to read from the Bible, but they still just get caught up in the world, and I can tell that's really what they need.
Yeah. No, and, that's what's happening. The kids are just getting inundated with so much information. I just think they're having a hard time processing it. My kids are the same way, even though they've got a pretty good grip on things. But also my daughter Greta is in this movie. She was in Amerigeddon. She was part of the ranch, and she's also in this. She plays a kind of a girl I pick up on the way back to Crossroads. She's great. She's great. We had a fun time.
Well, Mike Norris, an awesome fellow Texan right here, by way of Oklahoma, back to L.A., back to Texas, because, Oklahoma should be part of Texas. So Chuck Norris is a Texan. Absolutely. Just North Texas. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back live here. So much breaking behind the scenes. Sorry I got in late to the studio here, but we were dealing with massive censorship taking place all over the country, all over the world, and it's being exposed. Mike Norris, filmmaker, great Patriots, riding shotgun with me. He was telling me during the break about a really exciting documentary film coming out that's going to be coming to Austin that I also want to get into if you want to, about the Snake River. Who didn't want to talk about that? But look at this. He's joining us next hour. Twitter caught silencing O'Keefe amid censorship expose with O'Keefe suspension. Twitter confirms authenticity of Project Veritas videos. Well, they have congressional hearings saying they want to censor everybody, and they're doing it, and that they're spying on the president on Twitter with his private messages. I mean, these people, this is a coup. The big tech companies have basically brainwashed a bunch of people they finance in the universities, and then they bring them out and put them in charge of a huge un-American takeover of massive censorship, and they're on video having power trips, Mike Norris.
I'm blown away by this. Thank God for Project Veritas to be uncovering all this stuff. And I'll tell you what, everybody's got to watch what they say no matter where they're at, because somebody's listening. On my iPad, I got tape over everything. I tape on my iPhone. I protect myself. I'm very careful about what I say and when I say it.
Well, I remember 18 years ago having film crews inside my house, and they go, why do you have your webcam covered? Because back then it was just webcams. And I said, it's well known that hackers get into those governments. They just laughed at me. And I said, no, it's been in university studies. And again, but we don't get praised a lot of times for being right decades before. It's actually like we're worse because we were right.
Yeah, and it was interesting when I was driving up here today. I was thinking back to 20, 25 years ago when you first, or 30 years ago when you first got started, and things you're saying, like I was saying, Alex, exciting time, because all this stuff you've talked about for all these years is happening right now, way ahead of schedule of what you've said. I'm just very excited to see how this all shakes out. It's a little scary. It's exciting. But here we are. We got to deal with it.
Mike Norris is our guest here in studio. I've got so much news to get to here, but you've always got a lot of interesting stuff going on in your life, your perspective, stories that you've heard about, things you've personally witnessed. I'm trying to be positive because there is a lot of positive news out here as well, but if you pull back from it and you see how we just put up with all the censorship and put up with all the tyranny, what do we do about all this?
Shoot, Alex, I think individually, knowledge is power. I think that's one thing that people really need to understand is knowledge is power. So they need to read, they need to be informed. And I'm really lucky that I've got a really amazing group of men around me that are very knowledgeable. Gary Haven, this is somebody I could go to going, what's going on, Gary? And he'll strip it all down to where I can understand.
And then there's the footage of him with the crew landing on grass runways during a hurricane to help people in Haiti, the first airplane in. And later in the day, somebody dies trying to do what he did. And I'm like, wow, the crews, the footage we've got is incredible.
Oh, I know. And he was in a standoff, I think, with the United Nations or something. I saw some pictures because I called him up. I go, hey, what's going on, Gary? He goes, well, I'm in a standoff with the UN right now and some cartel people. I'm going, what? Never a boring moment with Gary Haven. Never.
And he doesn't even make a big deal about it.
No. Oh, never. He just got his cigar and he's ready to go. He's an amazing, amazing man. There's two men that have really shaped my thinking, my ideology, and that's Gary and my dad. Those are two men that I look up to so much. But Gary, just so smart, so well-versed in all this stuff. And he's the one that really got me to awaken.
By the way, Gary exudes confidence, but it's not like other men that try to do it. Like your dad, who does it's real confidence.
Yeah, no, Gary doesn't have to put on any shows or anything. He is what he is, and I'll tell you, it's just here's a guy, so much money, and what is he doing? He's trying to save the world.
And all he does is direct action, food, medicine to people all over the Caribbean, you name it, other places behind the scenes. He directly is delivering, and he knows it's happening.
Absolutely. I mean, he fills up his own airplanes, gets an army of people together, and they head out. They were all in Haiti, Puerto Rico. He's the man. It's so exciting to just kind of go into his orbit and see.
Look at this landing right here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And he's the best pilot. He is the best pilot I've ever seen. There he is. Look at him. There's
earlier I had the best crew ever, but I get mad at myself because I was so excited about this film coming out, and then it just got here like yesterday, and then I wanted to have banners for it and promos, and I kind of just walk in right before the show and like, what clip? This clip? Oh, and it's my fault we have some train wrecks. But that's the fun part about it is it's live radio and live TV day after day, just growing across the country. And again, it's not about giving credit to InfoWars or anybody else. It's about saying we're right. We really know what we're talking about. But now we've got the banners up. This is what a second American Civil War would look like. The Crossroads of Hunter Wild, a Mike Norris film, now available at InfoWarsStore.com. And listen, when you get excited about films, folks, we sell tens of thousands of them. That sounds like a lot of money. It's not when you're trying to pay for a film, trying to produce it. It's not when you are trying to fund an operation like this. Everybody listening, if you'll just commit, and no, this is the group they're trying to censor. The people we have on, they're trying to block. And when you grow a new film industry that's based on good, decent American and Christian values, when you grow a radio/TV program like this that isn't perfect, but has good intentions and is having victories, you change the world. And I know you know this, but we don't get money from big corporations. We don't get money from Soros. We don't get government money. What we get here is patriots supporting us and getting high-quality products. And if you just vote with your dollars, we'll continue to change the world. We've got also the new product in Immune Wall. And it's got the Wellmune, patented, proven to massively boost your immune system naturally. It's also got the olive leaf extract concentrated, going back to ancient times that the Romans used when they were sick. Now, in big studies, they know how incredible it is. It's got the most powerful concentrated organic mushrooms known for boosting. And it's got the citrus peel organic concentrated from lemon and orange peel and so much more. You want to naturally boost yourself and your children. The studies are out there, folks. Big Pharma has nothing that compares to what God created. We've put all the most powerful concentrated stuff in Immune Wall. We have over 50,000 reviews on Power Reviews that are 5-star. This has no reviews because we just started selling it 2 days ago, but it took us a good year to go around and get the very best compounds with one of the top labs in the country to bring you Immune Wall beta-glucans and olive leaf and so much more. InfoWarsStore.com. InfoWarsLife.com takes you right to the supplements or 888-253-3139. So we'll be back on the other side to talk about a whole bunch of different issues with Mike Norris. And then we've got the head of Project Veritas joining us right on the heels, pretty much exclusively here, because there's new developments on catching major tech giants admitting they are targeting and censoring and even spying on the president. Wait till you hear this. We've discovered the secret of Chuck Norris's magical powers, because when he does push-ups, he doesn't move, the earth moves, ladies and gentlemen. And it's C-Force water. Here's a little piece of video of that.
Can I have this?
That's my last C-Force water. No. I got a brand new bottle of Voss. You can have it.
No.
Fiji. It's yours.
No.
Villanova.
No.
Aquafina.
No.
Avion.
No.
I want my C-Force!
No one gets in the way of me and my C-Force.
Again, tell us about C-Force. It's gotten really popular. That's water off your dad's ranch.
Yeah, you know, my dad was out on the ranch one day. He saw a snake in the ground. He punched the snake, went down so deep, up popped a thing of water. No, just kidding.
You mean Hillary Clinton came out?
Yeah.
Your dad punched Hillary Clinton in the
right
face?
And out came the water. No, you know, about in 2015, they were drilling for a well, and they ended up hitting an aquifer on his ranch that was spitting out about 190,000 gallons a day. So they started bottling it. They put a line of 8,000 feet, build a bottling plant. And so they've got C-Force going out. I think it's in 15 states now. It's a great tasting water. It's my dad and Gina's. It's their water. So yeah, it was really funny because when we were doing Crossroads.
I mean, I can drink Chuck Norris water.
Yeah, absolutely. But when we were doing Crossroads of Hunter Wild, we had lunch with them one day, and they're going, yeah, a lot of people are doing these viral videos for us. And I go, shoot, we're filming tomorrow. Let me do one. And so we did this commercial, and they're putting it out here in the next couple weeks on a big national campaign. So it was funny. It was funny. We had a good time doing it. And it's my daughter Greta right there, and.
So we're getting a first look right now.
Right, yeah. Actually, this is the first time it's ever been seen right here on your show.
The premiere of C-Force water.
Yeah. But it was great. It's a great water. Part of the proceeds go to his Kickstart Foundation,
which is great for kids.
It's great. I had my friend. We're going to talk about this later. Eddie Braun, who jumped the Snake River Canyon. But
and by the way, he's a super. In fact, I know him from out in Hollywood. Yeah. One of the most famous. I mean, you know, him, one of your best friends, but he's one of the most famous. I mean, talk about this guy. One of the most famous stunt guys out there.
Yeah, Eddie's an amazing, amazing guy. He's been a great friend of mine for a long time. But
I mean, Evel Knievel couldn't do that.
No. And Eddie built a rocket, and to exact specs is what Evil's rocket was, and he jumped the Snake River. Now, Good Morning America, there was going to be a big, huge media thing, and Good Morning America was out there, but that was the day that the French terrorist attack happened, and it took all the media away from
Eagles of Death.
Yeah, and Eddie said, forget it, I'm still going. And what he did was he took all the footage and made an amazing documentary called...
What's incredible is 30, 40 years ago, jumping the Snake River or trying to was like the biggest thing ever. Now it's like, no big deal. You can't do it. And then he does it, though.
Yeah, absolutely. 0 to 400 miles in 2 seconds. 0 to 400 miles an hour.
Did he black out?
No, he did it. And it's an amazing... this movie he did, Stuntman, it's an amazing movie.
I remember I had dinner one time with Eddie Braun and some folks. And they were just talking about stories about guys dying, like jump the car and then it crushes and it they cuts their head off, or just all this insane stories about, wow, these stuntmen are amazing.
Yeah, that happened on Walker. Eddie was driving a car on Walker, jumping a car, and he looked over to the guy next to him. He goes, hey, this may hurt, but it won't kill you. It killed him, unfortunately, up at Joe Pool Lake in Dallas. And they did a big car stunt, and Eddie broke his back. It was brutal.
Maybe he was telling that story, too, so the blood was just gushing out of his nose?
Yeah, that's true.
So that was the story.
That's the story.
Well, then retell it.
Yeah, no, when on Walker, Texas Ranger, we were doing a big stunt, and the car, is jumping over something. I can't remember what it is exactly, but Eddie's driving the car. Charlie Skeen is next to him, and like I said, Eddie...
That was it, Charlie Skeen.
Charlie Skeen.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he goes, this is going to hurt, but it won't kill you. And Eddie hit the thing. I think he flew about 150 feet in the air and crashed and looked over, and Charlie was dead. But he had a heart attack or something like that. It wasn't, I don't think it was from the impact.
Sure, that's what it was. The blood's pouring out of his nose.
Yeah.
And there was another guy, though. They told some other stories about somebody else got their head chopped off in another event.
Yeah, that was on another one of my dad's movies, Missing in Action, I think.
Yeah, I'm remembering now. You're sitting there eating swordfish and rice, and you're everybody getting their heads cut off. You're like, I'm really glad I have my radio job.
No kidding. But it's, you know what? It's safe. You know, my brother was a stunt coordinator on Walker.
It's safe until you die.
Yeah, it's safe until you die. But, you know, you just got to be careful. It's a dangerous business. Being a stuntman's dangerous.
Didn't your dad do a lot of his own stunts?
He did, but, you know, he got to the point where he's like, well, why am I doing this? I don't have to do this. I got a great double that looks just like me. And so my dad would do the master shots and do the fights. But, you know, if somebody's driving by or something, he's like, you know what? Let these stuntmen do it and let them make some money.
Boy, I tell you, it makes you think of that movie intro. You know, I die for a living on TV. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
Are the stunt men, and there's stunt women as well, just saying men is now sexist or evil, men existing is bad. Is it as dangerous as it used to be? It seems like with more of the graphics and computers, they've kind of cut back a little bit.
Yeah, you know what? I don't want to say it's, you know, I think a lot of it is, I think they're pushing the envelope a lot further also now. Just the way Hollywood is, they're constantly pushing the envelope on action and driving. I mean, that movie Baby Driver and things like that, that's still the car doing the stunts. It's dangerous. It's very dangerous. But stuntmen are a very highly trained breed of people that take it very serious. I was here with Eddie was here in Dallas last week doing a Ford commercial. And he's, you know, I forgot how detailed they are on safety. Everything's about safety.
Sure, because it's dangerous what they're doing.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So they've gotten better about it.
Not only dangerous for the stuntman, but also for the crew, all the people around. That's very dangerous as well. So safety's paramount.
But pushing human potential is what it's all about. It's some of the last trailblazers out there. In fact, you were telling me you guys are going to come to town for South by Southwest. Yeah. We'll definitely hang out for that.
We're Eddie Braun's coming down here. He's screening his movie down here in Austin. He's going to have a whole array of crazy people coming with him. But it's going to be a big party. We're going to have fun. We're going to have a good time.
What's cool in Hollywood, though, is everybody likes the Hollywood stars, but in Hollywood, the cool people, it's the stunt people that are the stars.
Oh, absolutely.
Like at a party or an event, that's what everybody wants to talk to.
No, absolutely. You know, and it's been part of our world for forever. My brother, Eric, he's one of the top stunt coordinators in the business. He's doing Hawaii Five-0 right now in Hawaii, and he's amazing.
That's a rough job.
Yeah, spending 9 months a year in Hawaii.
Oh, it's horrible.
Rough job.
And I was out there on Kauai, those big cliffs.
Oh, yeah.
You know, around on the side where there's no civilization.
Yep.
And the Mali Coast, whatever, like in a rubber boat. I was like, man, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Going into those caves.
Yeah.
You know there's a God seeing that.
Yeah. You know, Kauai, I think the last time I was in Kauai was for Bruce Lee's funeral.
Wow.
Yeah. I was in Maui.
Is he buried in there?
Well, they had a memorial service in Kauai. That's interesting. That just popped back in.
I tell you, if I could live anywhere, it'd be there.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I might get a little island fever.
Well, yeah, you can always 5 hours, you're back.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I just feel so relaxed and zenned out. Like, I'm always like this. Go to Hawaii, I'm like, whoa. If something happens, I just get really relaxed.
Well, you know what that is.
The jet lag, the tire, the beer or something. You're something else, man. All right, Mike Norris is here with us in the studio. You got to get back on the road back to North Texas, up there where you've got your compound. But I want you to pop in and do an interview for the War Room coming up.
Absolutely.
With Alex Schroyer.
You know what? I just want to thank you, Alex. I mean,
please.
I'm not sure. No, what, for real. I'm not sure if people really understand what you're doing, everything that goes on here. And all these vitamins are the best of the best. I kid you not. Doctors are prescribing this stuff, but you could get them right here. Please get them here.
It's funny what you say, because that's a lot of what we do is they have these clinics where they sell them for $300, $400 with like a 7-10 times markup through the doctors, and it's helping people. You can actually make claims about stuff now. A lot of it's been scientifically proven, but then you can like sell it for $50 instead. And it's even better than what doctors are selling.
Yeah, I mean, I just went over, Blake. I just went over. I got some probiotics, some red. I mean, this is stuff that is cheaper than you're going to get at the doctors. Please get it. Please support InfoWars.
Well, what you're saying is more and more, even medical doctors' offices and stuff, they got a whole vitamin, mineral, compound section of really stuff that helps you. It's just that for some reason, you'll pay for $100 for fish oil at the doctor's office. We're about to come up with the highest quality fish oil. With us, it's $30. Yeah. And it's, big fusion of the very best, been all cleaned out and everything. So thank you so much. It takes a lot of money to fund this operation, but the listeners have come through. And again, it's not that we're even that good. It's that no one's really been challenging them. So it shows you how weak the globalists are, that they're having all these hearings and saying, shut us down, and admitting that we're really hurting them. And so Project Veritas, James O'Keefe is coming up to discuss his latest inside video that we're going to be showing you here. And now they've been trying to censor his video itself of what they're up to. So thank you so much, Mike Norris. The new film, The Crossroads of Hunter Wild, available at InfoWarsStore.com. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, brother.
Great job on the new film. All right, coming up, we've got Sheriff Joe Arpaio. This is a big interview, who is running for the Senate and in a dead heat with the establishment candidate. He's going to be joining us. But first, in the next 30 minutes, we've got the head of Project Veritas, who released one of the most devastating videos yet, months and months long, inside investigation of Twitter, censoring conservatives and libertarians and more. And now Twitter is caught silencing James O'Keefe amid censorship expose. That story's from Kit Daniels on Infowars.com. But first, Russia fraud is now imploding. A key John Bowne report.
While the agents of fraud and slander attempt to take down the president's character,
we're not at a 25th Amendment level yet. Or they would...
It's alarming.
This is alarming in every way. And then this went on. Okay, this is a little 25th Amendment. So 25th Amendment is a concept that is alive every day in the White House.
The president has this intensely loyal base, but is still unpopular with most Americans.
No, it's been a concern for the White House for a while now that the president is surrounded by people who don't necessarily respect or like him very much. And the president, I think, is aware of that, and it bothers him.
TD Bank has finally handed over the documents regarding Fusion GPS's Steele dossier investigation they were so desperately clutching to. The House Intelligence Committee subpoenaed the over 70 documents under a confidential settlement. Fusion GPS is appealing, claiming their employees' identities have been compromised. The Hill reports Fusion GPS officials have hit back at House Republicans, saying they do not believe the dossier led to the federal probe into the alleged ties between the Trump campaign and Russian election meddling.
For more than 5 months now, we've had 20 members of the House Judiciary Committee calling for a second special counsel to evaluate the nexus between the DNC, the Clinton Foundation, Fusion GPS, and Russians, the very Russians who told lies to undermine the president of the United States both before and after his election. So we'll get to the bottom of this, and the fact that we're turning up the heat on our investigation is likely one reason why Glenn Simpson wanted to tell his side of the story in the newspaper. Now we're ready for him to tell his side of the story in open hearings in Congress.
People really believe that the FBI did not know who paid for that dossier. I've got a bridge to sell you.
Why are they all coming out suddenly saying, okay, it's a total fraud, it's authoritarian, it's all a lie? Because they got caught and it blew up in their face. There's like 26, 27, depending on how you look at it, Justice Department and FBI officials who were all running the Russiagate thing. And then they basically all, except for a couple, gave money to their wives and husbands of government money in the millions to put out the PP-Gate dossier. The real crime is the millions of taxpayer dollars from the FBI and Justice Department to the wives and husbands of people at Fusion GPS that made it up.
Making the entire matter worse, we learned that the FBI paid Steele an additional $50,000 to update the phony dossier. The Democrats want to talk about collusion. They want to talk about dirty tricks. This is the dirtiest trick I've ever seen.
Also, a senior fellow working for John McCain's Institute is feeling the heat. Byron York, who flew to London in November of 2016 to retrieve the dossier, which unbeknownst to McCain had been floating around D.C., is now under subpoena for not being forthright. The Washington Examiner reports, in the session, Kramer told House investigators that he knew the identities of the Russian sources for the allegations in the Steele dossier. But when investigators pressed Kramer to reveal reveal those names, he declined to do so. Now he is under subpoena. The subpoena directs Kramer to appear again before the House investigators on January 11th. This should make for some real fireworks as Fusion GPS reveals the inner workings of a multi-million-dollar political witch hunt that has backfired. John Bound reporting for Infowars.com.
The authoritarians that are controlling this planet to a great extent, the technocrats, the big tech giants, they admit they're setting up something called a technocracy. And the definition of technocracy is an authoritarian world government that uses technology and the tracking of information to control what the general population does. Pull up your own definition. But it is an authoritarian system. And if you read about Davos and the EU and the Goldman Sachs, they all say, we are technocrats. We are technocrats. Now, I'd read that in their documents 20 years ago and talk about it. But you go read what they're saying publicly now. That's what they've set up. That's what they've established. And James O'Keefe from Project Veritas has been at the heart of exposing it. And as you can see, you're watching on television right now, he will be entering the studio here momentarily, kind of like I am sometimes. He's busy with some big breaking news, but he's about to be there here in just a moment. I sure understand having so many things in the air, so many pans on the stove that we're juggling here. So he's going to be joining us here in just a moment. But he didn't just catch him on tape a few months ago saying our main mission is to censor Alex Jones and the Liberty Movement. That was Google and YouTube. He's now, got the Democrats saying we steal elections, we bust in illegals to vote, we have them vote in the names of dead people. He didn't just expose all the other countless things like Acorn and bring that down. Just showing if there was more investigative journalists, we would have already won this thing. But we're starting to win. But we're just starting to win. We're starting to turn the tide. But now he's got undercover video that is incredible, that's on ProjectVeritas.com, Infowars.com, Newswars.com, top story on DrudgeReport.com, at least the last time I looked this afternoon. Undercover, Twitter engineers to ban way of talking through shadow banning algorithms to censor opposing political views. And Drudge has the headline that they admit they are opposing people's views, period. Just not letting you communicate if you're a Christian, a conservative, a libertarian. If you say a terror attack is Islamic, when ISIS is taking responsibility, they'll have a congressional hearing the day it happens and have Google, Facebook, and Twitter there, and they go, Paul Watson at InfoWars is #1 on Twitter, and he says that it's an Islamic attack and they've been warned. And they go, sir, we banned it during lunch. I mean, so a lot of this is out in the open now, but this is incredible at their meetings, at restaurants. We're going to find out how long this investigation went. But this is one of the most damning because they brag about, yeah, we spy on the president. And we're ready to give the Justice Department, implying they've got something in his private Twitter stuff where people are contacting you. That's like tapping the president's phone. And they say, we're ready to give it to Congress, implying there's something. This is how incredible it is. We should put this back on screen, the deep state symbol, because you think of deep state as government. But it's the tech giants. It's Google, Facebook, Twitter. They're the ones that nobody has got a leg up on. I mean, they're the king daddies, and they're the fake liberals, and they're manned by all these SJWs right out of university who are proud of their censorship. So James O'Keefe, you have done it again, my friend. Congratulations. They're at Project Veritas. Lay out the etymology of this and the footage, because if we play it, we'll run out of time. Having you here as right. This amazing infiltration.
Well, Alex, I mean, this is one of the greatest censorship stories in modern times. I mean, the things these people are saying on this video, I think this is certainly the biggest thing we have ever done. These are the most powerful people in the world. There you have it on the screen in front of you. Our strategy is to shadow ban. Now, your viewers might know what this is, but really what they're saying is that when you tweet or Facebook something, you think it's going to your users. What these companies are doing, and these engineers are on video describing, is how they make you think that your information is going to your users, but the people on the timeline don't see the information. That's what a shadow ban is. And they talk about how they specifically targeted, and this is their words, not mine, rednecks, conservatives who tweet about the flag, and they create algorithms where if you mention these things that correlate with certain ideas, they ban you, and they call it SHITTY people. This is what the policy executives, these are not low-level employees. These are executives at Twitter. Stephen Pierre, a Twitter engineer, says, We want to, quote, ban a way of talking. I hope you play some of these clips for your audience because this is truly extraordinary. They say they want to downrank SHITTY people to not show up. We're working on that right now. So they're describing the products and there's a Singh who's on the direct messaging team talking about how they use algorithms to target Julian Assange, to target conservatives, and to ban a way of talking.
We're going to play some of the video once you've left, but just in the time we have, people,
yes, absolutely.
People need to go to Project Veritas and see it for themselves in InfoWars. But it just shows a total culture of censorship and dehumanizing white people as rednecks. But then Julian Assange, that's bipartisan, exposing things, a real hero. They're calling him bad things as well. I mean, these are horrible people. But again, they're getting directives from on high that this is to be done.
Yes, they're getting directives. It's part of the culture. One of the executives in the tape, Alex, says that there's an unwritten policy. There you have it, Mo. He says there's an unwritten policy to do this, even though it's not part of the language. He's just, taking certain tweets down. Alex, Twitter bills itself as the public square. And what your audience needs to understand is if they take away our rights to share our ideas on these platforms, where are we going to go? I mean, most people don't have the power to create their own website. I know these are private companies, and we may not want the government to intervene, but unless the CEO of Twitter makes their algorithms public so the users know what they're doing, the government didn't have a choice but to intervene. I mean, this is scary stuff. And don't take my word for it. They're on tape saying their whole MO is to, quote, ban a way of talking. This is the greatest censorship story of modern times. And unlike the mainstream media, Alex, we don't just anonymously quote sources. We have these people dead to rights. How do we do it? We spent a year undercover building and drawing these people out, building their trust. A lot of these people are not even American citizens because they outsource a lot of this engineering to other countries. They bring people in on student visas. In this video, you'll see a lot of foreign workers describing how they target American patriots just because they don't like what they have to say. And we're not talking about white supremacists or Nazi people. They're just targeting moderate conservative people.
But James, that's what globalism is ganging up on nation states, taking it over, letting China have lower taxes than we have, designed to deindustrialize us. It's Cloward and Piven. And here they are saying we're going after all the opposition. Now we've got a story on Infowars.com. I don't know if you know about this, but Twitter has been caught now censoring your exposure.
How is that? I didn't see that one. Are they muting me? Are they shadow banning my stuff now?
Yes, with O'Keefe's suspension, Twitter confirms authenticity of Project Veritas videos. Twitter unblocked James O'Keefe account after suffering massive backlash for silencing the Project Veritas founder as his expose on Twitter political censorship went viral.
You know what's amazing, Alex, is that we're using Twitter's platform to get the information out. They are really in a pickle. They're in a bind because they can't ban me. They reinstated my account there. A lot of people this is trending on Twitter, Alex, believe it or not. Isn't that ironic? Shadow ban, hashtag shadow ban is trending on Twitter from looking at my phone here. And everyone is tweeting at the CEO of Twitter. This is big stuff. By the way, Alex, yesterday Twitter issued a statement. The statement was, quote, the individual depicted in the video was speaking in a personal capacity and does not represent Twitter. So they're saying this is a rogue employee, and today we have eight rogue employees, including on the policy team. We have engineers on the direct messaging team. We have engineers describing things they're doing. This is historic.
And this is what YouTube does. They also put you into a phantom zone where you think you're hitting your subscribers, but only people going to Project Veritas or Real Alex Jones. You have to go there looking for it yourself to share it, and you caught YouTube executives saying the exact same thing about us. So this is incredible. So first they ban you, then it blows up in their face because you're covering this. Now they have to unban you. And then you make the point, well, it's their company, but they hold out it's a public square. It's false advertising, and it's all secret. And then they discriminate. I mean, if you can't, say no to baking a gay couple's cake, you sure can't keep conservatives off Twitter.
Well, they're also giving direct messages, according to them, to the government. And in yesterday's video, they say, well, we go into your DMs, and one of the things that they're saying, Alex, and this is really graphic, but this is some of this stuff that's going to come out. They're talking about private genital photos. No, I don't put that stuff on there. Maybe there's Americans.
Sure, but like the NSA or worse, they're going through all your private messages, trolling it, enjoying themselves like a bunch of peeping toms. Stay there. James O'Keefe of Project Veritas is our guest. We're going to play some clips after he leaves us here in about 4 minutes. But James, as you said, I can sense this is historic because it just shows the censorship and it gets people excited about promoting the story, and then they see it being censored. Hey, if this is what they're doing, then bring it out in the light. Give us more details of what's in the video, but also the shockwaves this is sending across the world right now.
This is this is the biggest thing we've ever done. We've done some big ones. This thing is rocking Silicon Valley. I mean, my phone is blowing up, right? I'm not just saying this to hype it. This is. I mean, Twitter corporate issued a second response here in the last hour, saying we're not doing it when they're on video doing it. This might force their CEO to. I mean, you guys got to tweet at Jack Dorsey @JackDorsey. This is the biggest censorship story in modern times, and unlike the mainstream media, we have them dead to rights. They're caught on video. It's not me quoting people in a text article. They're on tape in restaurants, in areas where there's no expectation of privacy, talking about how they target people using their algorithms. And everything we do is on the line because Twitter is the modern public square. Whether we like it or not, these companies are the modern public square. And they're describing how they censor moderate voices, not ultra right-wing ones. And you know what, Alex? I got to say something that's happening right now. This is not a right-wing story. There's a lot of people, mainstream people, who are raising their eyebrows and patting us on the back. And the media is going to be dragged kicking and screaming into covering this one. So I'm really proud of our team for what we've, my undercover journalists put their lives on the line for this. And they get attacked. And I got the Attorney General of California sending me an audit letter, which I'm going to publish soon. I mean, everything is on the line, and this is the greatest censorship issue of our time. And there's more to come. I've got more videos.
We're witnessing organized, focused racketeering, in my view, in meetings, at events, in classrooms, but then out at bars, about how they're organized, how they're censoring. We're going to play some of the clips after you leave here in a minute or two. And again, the fact that they try to deny it, they know it's damning. It's going to completely blow up in their face. And then you add the Google censorship, the YouTube admitting it to everybody. The stuff that you got about me is now being used in current lawsuits from Google executives that have gone public. It looks like the whole house of cards is starting to go down. And if you track the line of what's giving us the key intel, it's Project Veritas, my friend.
Yeah, James Damore sued Google this week. I've been in touch with him. Charles Johnson sued Twitter this week. Dennis Prager sued YouTube. Everything you guys have been saying is in this video. I mean, I can't even, I kind of have to let the video speak for itself. I mean, all I can say is the one request I'd have for your audience right now is go to Twitter, if you have a Twitter account, and tweet at Jack Dorsey, at JACK, and say, hey, Jack, you better answer for this. Make your algorithms public. It's a user-driven system. We don't want government intervention, but you got to make it public because anonymity breeds responsibility. And Alex, I'd like to come back on your show because the next video we release, I mean, I can't even make this stuff up.
James, you've got the hotline, and anytime you call us, you're on. Please give us an update tomorrow. You are on top. The biggest story probably in the world right now. Incredible. Thank you so much.
I'll be back. See ya.
Thank you. Yeah, he's got to go. Folks, let me tell you, I don't just send donations around. I sent 20 grand there a few months ago because the video they got of Google saying that I'm the #1 enemy and they're censoring me, when they got to the lawyers, they said, this is it. No matter how good their lawyers are, you win. And we're getting ready. And it's being used in the other lawsuit, the Damore suit. And they got more documents. And I don't want to just sue for me. These pigs are blocking everything we do and then not even letting us, we send out to our millions of subscribers. Nobody gets it. We do all this. They demonetize us 95%. Don't even tell us. And then they got these arrogant people. They get up on their high horse video. And they just arrogantly shoot rednecks like Julian Assange. Yeah, we're shutting him down. The guy that George W. Bush wanted arrested. It's sick. But again, they're liberals, so it's okay to be fascist. And you see how Antifa doesn't want you to be able to march? And they tell our reporters with guns in Austin, you can't go through here to the Capitol. We have guns. Are you scared? No one's like, yeah, you're hitting me with clubs and you have guns. If your finger's on the trigger, I am actually shaking. The police just say, we've been ordered to stand down. Sorry, Owen. Well, these are the same people running these platforms, and they want to censor everything. And they are the internet. They get everybody to go on their platform, say they're free and open, and then secretly start censoring. So I'm not bragging when I tell you we've given $100,000 for this big investigation into pedophilia that's been there in the arrest. All of it's going to be here soon. We even supplied a lot of the, I'm going to leave it at that, and we're helping Veritas behind the scenes. That's why you need to go to InfoWarsStore.com. You need to commit, and I don't want to sit there with the information time we have and plug this, plug that. We got the best supplements, the best game-changing products, the best T-shirts, the best films, the best books, just material to fight the globalists. And I've been so busy. Half the stuff we had at 50% off isn't 50% off because it's sold out. But we got Secret 12 sold 50%. Survival Shield X2, you got to get that 50%. Super Mel 50%, and a bunch of other stuff. The Crossroads of Hunter Wilde, the new Mike Norris film. This is what a second American Revolution, Civil War would look like. Very important. InfoWars, endorsed by his father, Chuck Norris. InfoWarsStore.com. By the way, Chuck is a daily listener, and he's been on before, but little birdie told me, I think we're going to have Chuck very soon in person here, so that's always great because he's a really smart guy. But right now, let's play a few minutes of O'Keefe, who is just on fire, because, again, it's the arrogance and how they're talking about, they're calling us pieces of crap. And we know that if we put out a clip of Hillary saying black people are subhuman, they block it. Because they don't want you to see Hillary saying blacks are super predators and aren't good people and deserve longer prison sentences. That's the stuff. And it's in the WikiLeaks they censor. They all do it. Then they deny they do it. Well, you're going to get antitrust suits and discrimination suits, and you are getting sued. And I told you I was going to sue you, but I was told, Alex, sign on once the class action goes. And now you see all the lawsuits with my name in them. Every one of the damn things, excuse me. Let's go ahead and go to this clip from the Project Veritas expose that's on Infowars.com right now. Get our articles about it and tweet it at the head of Twitter from Real Alex Jones right now. Here's a clip.
We're trying to get the people not to go off. It's a product thing.
Let's say for the pro-Trump thing, and I am anti-Trump. I was like, oh, I banned the cell account. It'll go to you. And then it's at your discretion. And if you're anti-Trump, you're like, oh, you know what, Mo was right. Let it go.
The idea of the shadow ban is that you ban someone, but they don't know they've been banned because they keep posting, but no one sees their content. So they just think that no one's engaging with their content when in reality no one's seeing it. I don't know if Twitter does this anymore.
How do you know if it's a bot and not a normal person?
Use machine learning. You look for Trump or America and you have like 5,000 like keywords to describe a redneck. And then you look and you like parse all the messages, all like the pictures, and then you look for like stuff that matches like that stuff.
So is it gonna like essentially ban certain mindsets and or people who could be negative? No.
Yeah, they allow the Twitter people like Oberman to run and say he's going to kill everybody and murder everybody. He stays up. And they call, don't be negative. Don't say that, oh, look, the lowest black unemployment. We tweeted this week, the lowest black unemployment level ever to millions of people on our platforms and got a couple hundred responses. Because they were only seeing it at Real Alex Jones or at Prison Planet with Paul. And Paul's one of the biggest guys on Twitter, despite the fact you have to go to his Twitter page to even see the material. Ladies and gentlemen, he only executed the law faithfully as a federal officer with an astounding track record and exemplary awards. And the DEA, then he was one of the longest serving, most successful sheriffs ever in Maricopa County, executing the law. Then George Soros put millions of dollars in to stop him, clear election fraud, removed him very narrowly, and now, like a phoenix, rising back, despite the fact that the globalists are giving 20-to-1 money to his competitor. He's now in a dead heat, ladies and gentlemen. Joe Arpaio in dead heat with, I'm not going to say their name, in GOP race for U.S. Senate in Arizona. Now, just like internal bots showed, and I told you that Trump was 15 points ahead, Hillary stole 5 states, tried to steal others. State Homeland Security's exposed it. We now know 7+ million people voted with the names of dead folks. Project Veritas exposed the Democrats admitting that. They're going to hit him with massive fraud, but it doesn't matter. We have all got to get very aggressive to get Sheriff Arpaio, who's already served a long, long career defending this republic, in there. But we can do it. Just like we got the message to President Trump, he didn't even know that he was going to be put in prison by a federal judge for executing the law. So we can do it. And this is the time, but we are facing criminals. And so he is the guy we must have. I'm not saying the other candidate's evil. I'm just saying he is He is the literal knight in shining armor, the committed person, and it's a message to the globalists as well. You destroy people that stand up for what's right, we will rebuild them the next day. You know, I want to use the Christ allegories, but we'll use the Phoenix allegory because he's out in Phoenix. Sheriff Joe for America.com. These are establishment polls where we know they sample establishment people, but it's just amazing. How do folks get behind this? Tell us about the Senate race, and thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your hard work, Alex. Glad we have you. You can't always listen to the other networks, which they call fake news. So thank you.
Well, thank you. Yeah, they've been saying that I say there's a Mars base with kids on it. There's no video of me saying it. They just say I said that, just like they say you hate Mexicans when, you're married to. I mean, it's just they're such liars.
Well, yeah, but that's something they've been after me since at least the last 15 years when I started the fight against illegal immigration. And you know what happened the last election? The biggest fraud that they perpetrated against me, emanating from the Holder and Obama district judges, wouldn't even give me jury trials. So I can go on a misdemeanor, contempt of court. How can you beat a contempt of court by a judge? You think the other judges are going to rule against me or for me? No, they rule against me.
Well, we've only got you for this segment and the next, and I want to get into the Senate race. I want listeners all over the country to donate, to get involved, to travel there, to get on the job, to show them you destroy one of our people, we will build them back up. And this is so important to get you in the Senate. But expanding on that, since you raised that, we now know, can we put it behind me on screen for TV viewers? Because our folks built this working with our folks. We have the list. In fact, I lost my list. Will you guys bring it back in, the list of the people at the Justice Department and FBI that we compiled that have either recused themselves, been fired, or removed from the deputy director on down. There's the list. Obama, Lynch, Comey, Sally Yates, of course, Hillary fired by not being elected, McCabe, Orr, Carlin, Page, Stork, Baker, Prinstap, and then on down, literally all the same people hiring their wives and husbands at Fusion GPS for the fake dossier. McCain then delivers the fake dossier, got caught lying about it. Just the way they tried to kangaroo court you into prison. This whole Russia thing about Trump, I mean, you've been on the parallel rails, literally being railroaded into prison like they're trying to do our president, when it turns out Hillary is above her eyeballs in Russian collusion. Can you speak to that?
Well, it was sad because I spent, 30 years with the Federal Drug Enforcement, most of the time in management, regional director, I can go on. And my whole life was dedicated in that federal system. And now what I'm hearing that's going on in Washington with our law enforcement agencies and officials and the federal courts, it's kind of sickening. But you know what? You got to be a fighter. I did run for sheriff in '92, and I got beat last year. And you know the story behind that. And I went into retirement, decided to come out of retirement, which I really wasn't retired. I was still active in certain situations. So I decided, my wife and I have been married 60 years a couple of weeks ago, so I had to talk to her on this. And I decided to run for a U.S. Senate, the Flake seat. So I'm going to take a lot of criticism, Alex. You know that. Right now, they're hitting me in all ways you can think of. The head of the Democratic Party, Tom Perez, he's the one that did the hatchet job on me, according to orders from Obama. And now he's saying he's going to get me no matter what it takes. He can be my guest. Call me a convicted criminal, the misdemeanor, contempt of court. Same time you can get for a dog barking. Now, the President, Trump, pardoned me on that case. He knew it was all garbage, so I have to thank him.
Well, plus you were convicted by a Democrat operative judge. That's why paralleled, if we can put that on full screen for people, of almost everyone in that small network of people 25 total, but only about 12 in the inner circle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I mean, we're not talking about many people. Total 20-something. And almost all of them have been totally discredited, and they're on their own email and text messages admitting it's a fraud premeditatedly to set the president up. Same thing on you. They're committed the crimes, not us.
Well, but they don't know I have some information regarding that situation, a dossier and so on. So I'll be talking about that soon, the people behind that. So when they take me on, they seem to forget I'm not a typical politician. I'm a law enforcement official. I've been around as sheriff for 24 years, and then all my other experience. So I have information. I'm not some politician that goes by vote records and then they switch over at the last minute to say how great our president is, which of course he is. So when you're dealing with a law enforcement guy that does take on tough issues, including the fake birth certificate and how they went after me, the Justice Department, they're doing the same thing against Donald Trump. So I'm used to that, and I feel sorry for the president, and I'm going to, I hope, get elected to the Senate, be an ally and friend of his, and all, because that means it helps Arizona. His policies and agenda helps the people of Arizona that I expect to represent.
Well, that's the bottom line, is that we are all been on the same path, not as much as you or not as much as Trump. I mean, I've not personally been through what you've been through, but I'm a lot younger. I've experienced going after your kids, your family, your name, lying about you, trying to destroy your business, suing you. And that's why if somebody's good, standing up for the average person and really being wholesome, they're going to come after you. And it's the same thing. It's like Trump said 2 years ago. Look, the DREAM Act as it is a blank check to come in and bring your family in. If you can prove you've been here legally since you were a kid, whatever, yeah, go to a judge, we'll let you stay. Then he says, we're going to do that now. They go, oh, the right wing says Trump's backtracking. No, that was the media misrepresenting, saying he hates Mexicans, just like you always, you don't get lied about. And then they say you flip-flop when you say nice things because they're misrepresenting what you really said.
Yeah, well, you're talking about all these activists and ACLU, and you're talking about the news media. There's some good people in the news media. You know that. You're in the news media. You're a good guy. You get your message across. So that's something you have to put up when you're high profile and they're zeroing in on you and using the power of the United States government with all their money and their agendas. It's sad. It's sad.
Sure, let's come back and talk about the campaign and how we help you get elected, because it's a strong message to the establishment Republicans, the Democrats, everybody else. They're not going to be able to jackknife this like they did with Roy Moore if we get behind Sheriff Arpaio. Welcome back. Final segment with Sheriff Joe Arpaio, one of the most embattled individuals in modern history, a true fighter. Even if you disagree with his policies, you got to admire how focused he is, how dedicated his energy. But then you actually study his real policies. He's a great guy. You see what the media says about him. It's total crap. I see stuff in the news all the time I never said. Hillary's killing kids in the basement of a pizza place. There's no video, there's no audio. They just make it up, cobble it together. Notice a lot of times you watch the news, so-called news, you'll see audio of me, but not the show that's also TV. Because they can edit the audio, folks, and it's just so frustrating. And I told people I'm going to start suing folks. That was my next question for Sheriff Joe Arpaio, who's in a dead heat for the Republican primary there to be running for Senate, which is so important right now with them trying to get enough votes to impeach the president. Because a lot of Republican establishment folks, they're saying might actually go with an impeachment if we lose the midterms in 2018, and just a seat or two could be key. So could it be Trump that saved Arpaio from a fraudulent investigation, and then Arpaio saves Trump? That tends to be the way destiny works. But regardless, I don't go to the audience and bitch at you and say, hey, do more, buy more products, spread the articles, thank our affiliates more. I know you're doing a lot, but we're all in a fight. So everybody needs to seriously go to sheriffjoeforamerica.com, sheriffjoeforamerica.com, and they need to donate and they need to volunteer, and they need to get involved, because in the polls, he's either ahead or neck and neck, but you know they're going to have people voting in the names of dead people. You know they get the illegals and hop them all up and tell them he's the enemy just because he's for law and order, and they're going to try to vote against him, and there's serious fraud in Arizona. So we need to get him 5, 10, 15 points ahead to even have a chance of winning like Trump did, which we can do if you take action. But this isn't about shooting our mouths off. It's about doing it. Sheriff Joe Arpaio, what can we do to make sure you win this primary?
Well, just what you're doing now, Alex. Appreciate it, putting that word out and motivating my base. I never lost a Republican primary. Even in the last election, I won by 40% on the Republican primary. So I have strong support across the state. I've had that for years and years, and I want to thank all the people in other counties for always supporting me. Not that they could vote for me and so on, but I've been giving speeches constantly, not only there, but recently across the nation, and I've been doing that, helping the Republican Party. When Donald Trump ran, remember way back in June of 15, he announced, and he came here for his first rally in July 2015. I introduced him. You couldn't get any politics to get on a stage, but I did. I never met him prior to that. I liked what I heard, and I said he will be the next president, and he is. He made it, and I'll tell you, I don't go against people that I endorse. I stick with them to the bitter end, especially President Trump. I'm with him to the bitter end. I don't like to say bitter. It's going to be a successful end. But you know what I'm talking about.
Like Churchill said, we're going to defend our island, whatever the cost may be. We're going to go on to the end, and we'll never surrender.
Yeah, I don't surrender either. And I talked to my wife. We've been married 60 years. 2 weeks ago, I'm not forgetting that. I'm trying to get the time span. Just about 2 weeks ago. Talked to her about running. She's tough, too. This isn't easy for her. But I'm doing it not for just the president. I'm doing it for our country. And I'm doing it for Arizona. You know, we had 2 senators here. And they're not good friends of the president. Well, I'm going to go to Washington, and I'm not going to rubber stamp everything he does. But I'll tell you one thing, I'm never going to go against him even after he makes a decision. I may not agree with it, but he's still the commander-in-chief. He still runs this country. I still support the people of Arizona. And if there is a disagreement, I will talk to the people of Arizona and let them know what the president is doing. So but I can't go back against him. It's not in my style.
Well, sure. And I mean, Flake is a Democrat, a backstabber. He's a total joke. And I feel sorry for folks who have the name Flake, but if the name fits, if the shoe fits, a flake by any other name is still a flake. You've got these flaky rhinos. And again, what you've done versus what they said about you, all the fights, the fact that you're committed to do this just is all the more reason for everybody to get involved. And imagine how angry they're going to be if you end up being the guy that takes Flake's seat, and you are so incredibly close.
Well, you know, I'm going there for the people of Arizona. I'm not part of what they call the establishment. You know, I get along with everybody. Even in foreign countries, I got along with.
Yeah, but the establishment is anti-American globalist. So just because you're not anti-government, you're pro-American government, but you are anti-globalist.
Yeah, and by the way, not just law enforcement. I love what the president's policies are, whether it's the patriotism, the economy, how he speaks out, because when you speak out, it's a deterrence. That's why illegal immigration has gone down, because I've been through all this. He went out public, and he told everybody, you come across the border, you're going to get locked up. Well, that's a big deterrence when the president is saying that. So maybe they're not coming across the border, because they know he said you're going to be locked up.
Exactly. Let's expand on that. Who would think 11 months and 21 days into the presidency, we'd have a 25,000 stock market, 3.3% growth rate, 2 million new jobs, the biggest startups ever, the lowest black unemployment ever. And I try to tweet lowest black unemployment numbers ever. Twitter blocks it. I mean, the censorship is insane.
That's sad. That is very sad, and it's very, you know, when they talk about the president's polls, which nobody should believe.
Exactly.
You know how they're stacking the deck. But what about Congress? They're way lower than the president. What about the media? They're way down there. I guess car salesmen get the same type of...
Well, you know what it is, Joe? There's a lot of cowards that when they get called or get a poll sent to them, they don't want to say they support Trump because they think it might hurt them. But they have the computer bots on these apps mainly. And we knew before the election Trump was 15 points ahead, according to Silicon Valley. That's why they were panicking so hard. There was even articles about it, that he was 15 points ahead. And that, I mean, look at all the evidence of fraud versus, and I'm not getting into all whether Moore was good or bad. The point was Judge Roy Moore, they said he was 15 points behind, but he lost by half a point. And then they had all these Democrats on video saying, we came here to vote. We came here to, I mean, they're admittedly in fraud.
Yeah, I'm a little suspicious of what happened to me with, this billionaire, George Soros, pumped in over $3.5 million against me in 30 days. Come on. The Justice Department, the day before early voting, before a judge who would not give me a bench trial on this misdemeanor, said they're going to charge me. 2 weeks later, they charged me with a misdemeanor, said I'm going to go to prison for 6 months. Think of that. In the midst of an election, people voting, violation of the Department of Justice guidelines, they hit me. Why didn't they do it a little earlier? They've been after me since Obama took office, 60 days. So after all these years, they end up getting me on a contempt of court because a judge who has his bias threw it over to have a criminal investigation. Think of that.
Unbelievable.
But that's okay. I'm going to Washington. I'm going to straighten a lot of things out. If they don't put me on any committees, okay, I'll form my own committees. So we'll see what happens.
And that's what the president's going to do in 6 days with his fake news awards. We're just taking the narrative back. And, you know, they censor us off everything else. We just create our own systems.
That's right. And once again, the president knows what he's doing. I think that's what really scares everybody. That's why they keep going after him.
Yeah, they're saying he's an idiot and mentally ill and all this. Well, that's the case. We need more of that. SheriffJoeForAmerica.com. And we hope people go and donate and support. And we'll track as you go. I got a gut feeling you're going to win if people get behind you. But regardless, you're going to inject real ideas. And I got to say it. I mean, we got to admire fighters. Compare Sheriff Joe to these millennials. A lot of them are great folks, but just so entitled, so lazy. This fella, for his country, fighting super hard and sharper than 20-year-olds out there when he's 80-plus years old. I don't say that as a bad thing. It's a positive thing. And we're very, very proud of you, Sheriff Joe, for everything you've done and letting them attack you and lie about you. We really appreciate you.
Thank you. Thanks, Alex.
All right, there he goes. And I'm going to come back and hit some real key news. And we've got a guest host joining us. But, I remember 20 years ago hearing about Joe and thinking, oh, this is a bad guy, because I was more of a liberal, libertarian kind of guy. And then I actually went and saw what he would do, and it wasn't true. I mean, you can't just go to Russia or Mexico or anywhere else and just walk across and you go have a baby for free. We don't hate anybody. And they just turned it into this now. And then some of the minorities that buy into this, who are now the majority, actually think everybody hates them, and then they get racist, and that makes more racists on the other side. The globalists are using us against each other, and they hate people like Arpaio because he wants to bring back prosperity. Spread the live links. We need your help. Now, if you're a new viewer or listener, you need to listen very, very carefully. But if you're a regular listener or viewer, we're live. But once this is posted to Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, you name it, I am begging you to take this video and get it out to everybody you know. If I walk around this office, if I walk out there in that control room, a lot of folks don't want to go in there, and that's fine. I can point to this person's child died after taking a vaccine in that control room. This person took the typhoid oral and made her super, super sick, and they admitted it made her sick, and they said this may make it where you can never take any other vaccines again. And this man volunteers at Dell Children's Hospital, works at radio and TV, great guy, and he took the flu shot a month ago and got deathly ill and hadn't been here for a couple weeks. My dad's retired, well, semi-retired oral surgeon. He has all these patients he's had for decades. They come in, he sees them, they die. He talks to their husbands and wives. They go, oh, we all took the shingles shot. He knew a couple people in a month a couple years ago before he semi-retired that were his long-term patients that died after they took the shingles shot, which is basically just like a form of herpes that you get across your body, but you take the vaccine. So, but one of our crew, and I'm not knocking the others, don't want to be public, I'm just saying, Oprah's like, you get a car, you get a car, you get a dead child. I'm not trying to be mean. It's terrible. You get, get super sick. You get to almost die of the flu. You get to have a convulsion. We're doing this to warn people. My mother was a triathlete who didn't get into it until she was like 35. She was winning gold and silver medals at the regional and national level against former Olympic athletes. The team told her at UT, take the shot. She was sick for a month, almost died, done. At like 48 years old. So, we're joined by Connor Yarbrough, one of our great producers and engineers here, just in the next few minutes to tell you the story about what happened to him in the so-called flu shot. Because we got the studies that doubles your chances of getting the flu shot, of getting the flu the next year, or that it never matches up with mutations, so it doesn't help you. But we can show you the news articles where MMR admittedly gives people's measles, mumps, rubella. We can show you that the mumps outbreak's directly tied to the vaccine. Or my grandmother said, oh, yeah, I got the second polio vaccine, and they told me I got polio a week later of that strain, and the doctors told me I got it from the live polio vaccine in 1950, whatever. And she just died last year and was basically handicapped her whole life after she had my mom and my uncle. But enough of me. We'll probably hold them over the next segment a little bit. Why don't you tell folks... Connor Yarbrough, we appreciate you coming on air. You look like you lost, you weren't a skinny guy before, you look good, but looks like you lost, 25 pounds? What happened?
I did lose a little bit of weight over the last few days, but what happened was, so like you said, I volunteer at a local area children's hospital, and as a requirement, we are expected to get the flu shot, and to make sure that we don't spread any chance of the flu getting to any of the kids in the hospital there. I got the shot about late November, and around last Friday, I started feeling a little icky after I got out of work here, and I thought it may have been due to a lot of the dust from a lot of the work me and the other engineers have been doing around here. Thought maybe I just got some allergies or something. Went home that evening, started having some chills. Next thing I knew, I was in bed the entire past weekend. Thankfully, I just coincidentally had a doctor's appointment come Monday, and surely enough, they figured out it was the flu right away. And, I still don't sound entirely too great right now, but I've been on Tamiflu this entire past week. I'm probably going to be out of the children's hospital for at least the next, good couple of weeks here. And, reports have said that about 25% of the admitted cases to that children's hospital right now have been for the flu, and this has been one of the biggest outbreaks Texas has seen in quite some time. So, this is definitely one of the more severe cases that this area has ever seen. But for me, this is definitely one of the sickest I've ever felt.
Let's talk about it when we come back. Everybody knows, take the flu shot, get sick. Stay with us. I hate talking about it, but it's something I got to do. Again, my grandmother, back in the early 50s, great lady, just died last year. Benny Grace Hammond. She, during the whole polio outbreak, went and got her first polio shot with the first strain. And a couple months later, they said, you need to get the new strain. She went and got it. And a week later, that's what it takes. In about 7 days, she got it. And the doctor told her, well, you had a bad reaction to the live virus, which I guess they thought had been attenuated somehow or was a watered-down virus. And it ate the nerves in about half her body. And she refused to be in a wheelchair until she was about 92. But it just... ate the nerves and most of her muscles, so she was paralyzed about more than half her body. And so when she finally died of natural causes, it was a good thing. She was a Christian, so she refused to take opium or go to hospice or any of that. And she still kept eating. And she had breast cancer 7 years before, and had one breast removed and didn't like it. So she got cancer again. She said, I'm just going to let it. So she had obviously cancer probably all over her body when she died, but she refused to be seen by the doctors. But you know what? The very breast cancer she had, I looked at her files, is one associated with SV40 that was also in the polio shot. So they didn't just give you the polio virus. They gave you simian virus associated with fatty tissue and hormone-based, and I'm not a cancer doctor. I've just had probably 50 of them on over the years and have the top papers on it. And so evidence shows the doctors told her, we gave you polio, but they probably gave her breast cancer as well. So, again, you need to research SV40 and all of it for yourself. I had the head of one of the biggest chains of pediatric facilities, because he was not anti-vaccine, but he put in the file and online when I first started having children 15 years ago that you did not have to be vaccinated. He wouldn't kick you out of his clinic. And I went there, and a couple times I brought my son and then another daughter. And I've been there a few years, and I finally got that doctor. His first name began with an H. And he said, he goes, I like your show. You're absolutely right. He goes, we're giving people 1960s live polio vaccine at these free government clinics. And Alex, it's illegal since the 1970s to give it. It's got wide spectrum cancer virus. And I said, I know. And they're always shocked somebody knows this. And he goes, well, okay, I just want to say you're right. He walks out, and he comes back in the room. He's a big guy, and he grabs him by the arm, looked like a linebacker. He had a big beard, and he goes, hard, but I almost hit him. He goes, don't you tell anybody I told you that, though. And I said, he goes, just don't say my name. Just don't say my name. And he shuffles out. So that was a guy doing what he thought was right because he knew how dangerous it was. They put syphilis in black people's vaccines. Hillary apologized for what was going on in Peru, putting it in their vaccines and giving it to millions of Peruvians ended up getting it. They gave it to over 100,000. They'd shoot these black men up with syphilis, and then they let them go to go be promiscuous and spread it. Microscopic worm that eats your brain. So remember, it's not just science that they say we're against. It's that if you look at the studies, even if the flu shot doesn't give you the flu, it never guesses the right mutation. This is admitted. And in Canadian and British studies, it lowers your immunity for at least a year to flu by 50%. So a lot of people say, oh, my God, I went and got the flu shot, and I got it 2 weeks later. And I want to just blame the flu shot because they've been caught adding stuff and simulants and the HV, all the rest of it, and the H1N1 that was a swine flu variant. But a lot of times it's not really giving you the flu. It's lowering your immune system to get the other flu viruses, thousands of which there are. And Mr. Rappaport of NoMoreFakeNews.com, worked with some of the biggest news outlets out there and then have been exposing them for decades. He's really an expert on this. He's got a bunch of other topics to cover, but I wanted to have Connor Yarbrough finish up just his experience of volunteering he's done for years at Dell Children's. They tell the nurses, everybody, take the shot. And because you were saying off air, you had the flu in how many years? I mean, you're a really healthy guy.
The last time I had the flu was in 2009, and that was when I had H1N1, actually. But I didn't even take a vaccine around that point in time, and I haven't taken the flu shot in years. I've always been a believer into that myth, or however you want to describe it, as you get the flu shot, you get the flu, and so I've just never gotten it. And this is the first time I've gotten the flu shot, probably. Gosh, and as long as I can remember, and lo and behold, I actually got the flu this time around. So, I don't know how to say it's true or not, but it's the way you put it. It definitely felt like something was weakened within me that I ended up contracting something where I definitely got incredibly, incredibly sick. This past weekend, I couldn't sleep very well. I was in and out of consciousness a lot throughout sleeping. I'd wake up sometimes, my whole bed was just absolutely soaked in sweat. And it's the most miserable I've felt in a good while. You can still tell in my voice right now, things are still not entirely leveled off yet at this point.
And by the way, people don't just believe me. You can go read the studies. You can type into a search engine. They bury it. You got to look. CDC, CBC, was a Canadian Broadcasting government report. Taking the flu shot doubles chances of flu next season. There's a British NIH report. This is all there. Thank you for sharing your story, because I don't make the crew get on air if they don't want to get on air. A lot of them want to get on air. We're going to launch some new shows made up of the great crew, because there's really a smart group of people. Maybe I'll get some of the other people around here to talk about their experiences, but they're pretty painful because it's not just full-grown men getting the flu. It's things that I'm not going to talk about, but we all know in this building. Of not many people. In that control room, it is like Armageddon from all of this. And so let's just understand that. Let's go ahead and go to John Rappaport. Spend 3 minutes here just on this topic yourself. I know you've got a lot to cover. I'm going to hand the baton over to you, my friend. Go ahead.
Well, Alex, this is the straight out truth. delivered right from the shoulder. These vaccines are destructive. They have nothing to do with health. And people have to understand, thousands and thousands of doctors, mainstream doctors, they understand this, just like this doc that you talk to. They know what's going on. They understand that the whole idea of vaccination involves what they call adverse effects, meaning destruction of the body, destruction of the immune system, chronic allergies, autism, you name it. They know that.
Everyone I know that's been in the military, special operations, enlisted, Delta Force, you name it, says they were totally healthy. They'd give 100 guys the shot. 20 of them get sick. 1 of them would die. I mean, they know.
Exactly. And that was, the anthrax shot and other shots. And who knows what they put into all of that stuff. So this is like an open secret we're talking about. It's like an open sewer inside the medical cartel. And the doctors know it. Medical reporters know it. I've talked to them off the record over the years, and they're just too afraid to say anything. They refuse to come out into the light and say. And
now they're getting bullied where they're saying, fine, you all have to take the 50-something vaccines every year, or even if you're in accounting a mile away from the hospital, you're fired.
Exactly. That's their only strategy. If they leave it up to people's choice and intelligence, the whole vaccine establishment is going down in flames. So they say, well, we just have to pass laws that we enforce, if necessary, at the point of a gun, in order to get people to take vaccines and to get their kids to take vaccines. I mean, in one province in a state in Australia right now, they're just invoking a rule: no kid goes to child care. That's it, unless you've had the full schedule of vaccines.
And now they want you to have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. It never ends, and they have liability protection to do whatever they want.
Exactly. 1986, they're off the hook since then. The vaccine companies cannot be sued for any childhood vaccine injury or destruction or death. You listen to the mothers talk about what happened to their children. They're giving it to you straight. Everybody
Sometimes they die at the doctor's office.
Right, exactly. And the doctors say, well, it has nothing to do with the vaccine.
That's why you get me on this subject, because I had my wife thrown out of that clinic that guy founded and created. My children were still going there, but the newest baby, they just chewed her out, tried to pressure her and said, you get out of here for not giving your baby all these shots. And then you talk to the doctors behind the scenes. They don't give their kids the shots. They know exactly what they're doing.
Okay, John Rappaport sitting in for Alex in the 4th hour here at InfoWars. So I just want you to understand and know that these New Year's extended specials are extended at InfoWars. That means Survival Shield X2, Alpha Power, Secret 12, Super Male Vitality, all 50% off. So you look into that, because that's only happening now until supplies are gone, because InfoWars has had to take off Brain Force and Super Blue because extreme demand ran out. Free shipping at the InfoWars store, 50% off Survival Shield X2, Alpha Power, Secret 12, Super Male Vitality, as long as supplies last. So make sure that you do this and support the InfoWar at the same time. That's the deal. You get the products you want. InfoWars has the energy and capacity now to expand their operations and bring you the truth. InfoWarsStore.com. Well, here's the story. I would say maybe 3 out of 10 times when I'm on with Alex and it's time for me to switch into gear and take over in the 4th hour, I just chuck everything and continue to talk about what Alex and I were talking about. That's the way it goes, folks. So here's my stories that I was going to talk about. Bye-bye. And I'm going to talk about vaccines, because this is chemical warfare against the population. I've been writing about this and talking about it since 1987. There's no end in sight, not going to stop now. There's lots of vectors to approach this with, lots of myths and fairy tales to explode. But I want to start with this. In Australia, what was it now, a year ago? Vaxxed, the documentary called Vaxxed, went to Australia with its producers. This is a very tight, chilling film about a CDC whistleblower named William Thompson, who admits that he and his colleagues at the CDC cheated, lied on a study, a scientific study of the MMR vaccine, and said that the vaccine had no connection to autism when in fact it did. That's a public confession he made, a longtime CDC researcher, on his whistleblower lawyer's webpage, Rick Morgan of Cincinnati, and the CDC whistleblower, William Thompson. The story, of course, sort of surfaced in the mainstream, and then, oh, no, it couldn't be true, and then it went away. But several very smart and brave people made a film, a documentary about this called Vaxxed, swept the nation, went abroad, still going abroad. And when it went to Australia, people lined up around the block to see it because the press said that it was horrible and nobody should see it, nobody should look at it because it was too dangerous. This is your mainstream press, idiots on parade. Well, one of the producers, Polly Tommy, had her visa yanked so that she couldn't come back to Australia. She was told when she left, can't come back, visa is taken away, suspended. We don't want you here. And one of the big reasons why was, as they were taking the film around the country, they began interviewing mothers of children that had their brains damaged and destroyed by vaccines. The stories were right out there, firsthand. You didn't have to go through the New York Times to get their debunking and their experts. It was right there in your face. And even worse, Polly said, what really started the ball rolling is when they interviewed mothers of children who had never been vaccinated and who had been healthy from the beginning and remained healthy. That, as far as the government and the press over there was concerned, was even worse. That was like a silver bullet to a werewolf. Oh my God, we can't, we can't let people know the truth. That if you raise kids the right way and raise them healthy and strong, they're going to stay strong. Then we come to this thing called the herd effect. This is the thing that drives people to surrender their children to the state. You have to vaccinate your child because if you don't vaccinate him, he's going to be a little time bomb running around and he could infect my child with whatever diseases he has. And my child, of course, has been vaccinated. Whoa. Let's break that down, ma'am. In other words, you're saying that your child who is vaccinated and therefore protected, has no problem unless my child gets near your child. But your child is protected because your child's been vaccinated. So what's going on here? Right? I mean, unless you think that you've been hoaxed and you shouldn't have vaccinated your child's protected, vaccinated. My child didn't get vaccinated, and he's a threat to your little baby? I don't think so. Otherwise, why get your child vaccinated? So much for the herd effect. This is the biggest pile of BS I've ever heard, and this is what's used to drive parents to become useful idiots in the war to force parents to vaccinate their children. Your little boy hasn't been vaccinated. Well, now he is exiled from the community, right? Excommunicated from the holy order of biological mysticism that requires everybody to get vaccinated. Well, no, I raised my child healthy. He's healthy and strong, never been vaccinated, never had a problem, good nutrition, exercise, and so on. What's the problem here? We can't let that story get out. No, that's not a story. Don't cover that. Don't say that. Hide that from everybody. And hide the fact that in these vaccines, all of them, there are toxic chemicals that are injected directly into the body that bypass the normal channels of body defenses, like mercury, which is still in certain flu vaccines, a heavy, heavy neurotoxin, aluminum, which is in most vaccines, I would say, which is a heavy, heavy neurotoxin, formaldehyde and polysorbate 80. You can go down the list. Look it up. Go to the CDC website, and you'll find the list of ingredients. More to say on vaccines. We'll be back after this. John Rappaport back here in the fourth hour for Alex on InfoWars. Just want to mention the other specials in the InfoWarsStore.com store that have discounts. Cellforce, 50 off with free shipping. Vitamin Mineral Fusion, 50% off with free shipping. The Real Red Pill, 50 off with free shipping. DNA Force, 33% off with free shipping. Carnivore and Floralife, 33% off with free shipping. While this special can last before the store runs out. So go to the store, InfoWarsStore.com. Order the products and support the InfoWar. Where else do we go with vaccines? Here's a place we can go. Babies. First day of life, hepatitis B vaccine. What? This is a vaccine supposedly protects people who share needles, IV drug users, prostitutes, sexually transmitted disease, and so on and so forth, given to babies on the first day of life. Other vaccines quickly follow, many in the first months of life. Well, it's universally acknowledged, and pay attention to this, that babies do not have anywhere near fully formed immune systems. They just don't. Not even close. Well, supposedly, the theory behind vaccination is that it stimulates a person's immune system to provide a kind of rehearsal for infection when the real thing comes along. If that were the case, you would have to have an immune system intact in order for this rehearsal to take place, which babies do not have. So from that point of view, purely, the entire thing is a gigantic hoax. A gigantic hoax. And should be not only investigated, but prosecuted that way from the ground up. Let's take another factor, supposedly, about vaccines. A person's immune system is suddenly said not to be able to function on its own when it's there and intact. No. Can't fight against disease. In order for that to happen, you have to be vaccinated so that it stimulates the immune system with a kind of a teaser of what a real disease would be like, so that later on, if the real thing happens, the immune system soldiers are on guard and they say, oh yes, I can see it from a mile away and here we go. What kind of sense does that make when you really stop and think about it? What kind of sense does that make at all? None. Zero. Now, here's what a vaccine can do. It can weaken the immune system such that the immune system can't really respond fully when a real infection comes down the pipeline. And when that is the case, you will not see the familiar rashes and other symptoms of the infection at all, because the immune system is too weak to mount a full acute inflammatory response, which is what the immune system ought to be doing. That's why you see the rashes. That's why the fever occurs and so on. That is a combination of an infection and the immune system mounting a full and bold and full-bodied immune response. Well, if vaccines with their toxic elements and so forth have reduced the ability of the immune system to respond, you don't see those symptoms. And why am I saying this, and why is it important? Because it forms the basis of the medical cartel saying we have wiped out many diseases with vaccines. Why? Because we don't see the symptoms. Get it? We don't see the symptoms. Therefore, we know that the disease has been wiped out. False, wrong, incompetent, liars. If the immune system is weakened enough through vaccination, it will not be able to produce those symptoms that are supposedly signs of the disease. That's what you've got to understand in all of this hoax about, oh, we've wiped out many diseases with vaccination. I've told this story before here, but I'm sure there are many new listeners now. For several decades in Africa, there was a gigantic campaign to wipe out smallpox with the smallpox vaccine. About 100 million people received the vaccine. This was a World Health Organization program. Lasted 1966 to 1980, at which time the World Health Organization said, this is the greatest thing that's ever happened in medical history. We've wiped out smallpox. Really? Really? Because there's a warning that any competent doctor will give you about the smallpox vaccine in particular, which is, do not give it to people whose immune systems are already compromised and weak, because then the vaccine can cause smallpox or devastate and kill the recipient by other means. So what the hell was the World Health Organization doing, giving 100 million shots of the smallpox vaccine across Africa to millions and millions and millions of people whose immune systems were already compromised and weakened by generation to generation hunger and starvation, protein calorie malnutrition, contaminated water supplies, extreme grinding poverty, etc., overcrowding. What was going on there? Well, I found out what was going on there, because I had a source who was a very good mainstream source who told me the following. While the champagne corks were popping in 1980 and the World Health Organization was saying, we just wiped out smallpox on the African continent, they were holding a super secret meeting in Geneva, their headquarters, to discuss the smallpox vaccine they had been using. And they decided that they would never, ever use that vaccine again. And I said to my source, why? He said, because it caused cases of smallpox. Caused cases of smallpox, as well as many other kinds of devastation to people, neurological, gut, intestinal death from the toxic vaccine. That was the secret. That was never supposed to be publicized, because they were celebrating the fact that they had supposedly wiped out smallpox on the African continent. It's things like this that will turn you in the direction of really looking into what this is all about. Because what it's all about is chemical warfare against the population of the world in many, many ways. Many, many ways. There's more to tell, and I will tell it. We'll be back in InfoWars after this break. John Rappaport here. Last segment of this fourth hour, sitting in for Alex at InfoWars. So what's the overall agenda here? First of all, let's take this down to the ground. If a doctor said to a sane mother, look, Mom, this is what I propose to do. You see this sparkling little baby that you have here, brimming with life, that's so healthy. I want to inject this baby. Inject now with aluminum, okay, which is a known neurotoxin, crosses the barrier into the brain, can just wreak havoc. Formaldehyde, another toxin, polysorbate 80, and a bunch of other chemicals. You know, there's some antibiotics in there and so forth and so on. Just, you know, you can read the whole list of ingredients. They all have a certain amount of toxicity to the body, to life. And then a germ at the same time, that's really the heart of this, a virus you're going to put in there, that's supposed to stimulate your baby's immune system. Of course, your baby doesn't have an immune system yet to be stimulated, okay? So this is what I want to do, okay? Is that all right with you, Mom? That's what we're talking about here. Now, what's the overall agenda behind this? Well, I mean, it's evil. Doing evil is always an agenda for some people. But what we call globalism, which is global tyranny, an attempt to remake the planet with no individual countries, just the country called Earth, under the control of an elite management system of oligarchs who decide how life is going to be lived on this planet by 8 billion, 10 billion people, whatever it is. That's their goal. That's what they're after. That's what they've been doing since 1945 and for a century before, at least, as well, under guise of different names. They exist. They're real. It's not a fantasy, folks. It's a political war against the population. Now imagine that you were one of the elite leaders in that war, and your ambition was to control 8 to 10 billion people. That's a pretty tall order. You know, I mean, that's not a simple thing that you can just snap your fingers and overnight, okay, we've done it, boys. No problem. No. This is a long, protracted war. You want as many people as possible to have lowered vitality, the juice of life and strength and power to resist. You want to drop their IQs as far as you possibly can. You want to disorient and confuse them and weaken them in every possible way on every possible level. You want to toxify their systems in some, not just today and tomorrow, but some chronic way over the decades and decades of a lifetime to reduce their ability to function without becoming completely dependent upon the state, which means you, the globalist master. That's what you want. That's what you need. That's what you've got to have if you have a prayer of bringing the whole planet under your control. Let's face it. That war is going to be fought along several fronts, and it would be incredibly naive of anyone to think differently. And one of those fronts happens to be medical. And one of those medical fronts happens to be vaccination, which if you look at the literature since the beginning in England and really read it, you're going to see one thing that stands out. They knew. They know now. They knew then, they know now that it's toxic. They knew then, they know now, and they admit it in the literature that it's toxic. They don't care. They rationalize it away through a number of means. They are the useful idiots, right? They could have 150 IQ and sit in a doctor's office. They're still a useful idiot. The people on top, the Rockefeller Syndicate, for example, which is one of the arch forces of globalism and has been for a very long time, they know what they're doing. They understand the whys and the wherefores, and they always have. And it isn't just money, money, money. Any major operation, I mean, in this case, a global operation, has levels of agenda. Money, profits, individuals want promotion, status, paycheck, survival, recognition. But you get higher and higher and you see that it's about power, control, and destruction. That's what this is about. And when you see in the light of day the topmost agenda of the vaccination program that has existed on this planet and keeps expanding, well over 200 vaccines are now in the research pipeline, in addition to the dozens of vaccines that are now on the CDC schedule to be taken by children, and they're coming after the adults, in case you thought you were exempt. Over 200 in the research pipeline. It's endless, folks, because it means more and more poisoning and destruction. That's what it means. This is not the kind of chemical warfare that you see dropped from planes or sprayed on the ground all around. This is the kind of chemical warfare that is carried out very soberly and rationally and with all sorts of official justification. We're here to do good. We're here to help you. We're here to bring a better world about. This is the kind of propaganda that has an effect. These people are professionals. They're not idiots when it comes to propaganda. They know how to do it, and that's what they're doing. And that's the point of what they're doing at the highest levels, where only a few live. The rest partake of the conspiracy because they see some advantage for themselves and they don't see the bigger picture. That's how you do a conspiracy. Oh, you can't do a conspiracy because too many people would have to be in on it. Those are the idiots talking that don't understand how covert ops are arranged. They're compartmentalized. The people at the lower levels have only a glimpse of what's really happening, and they have a reason within them to do what they're told to do, whether it's following orders, a paycheck, survival, status, promotion, whatever it is, they do it. And when you add up all the useful idiots, you get the big picture. And it's true with vaccination and vaccines. At the highest level, the people know what they're doing. They're doing chemical warfare in order to weaken the global population and make the takeover of the planet that much easier and, in fact, possible. Without that, without the medical cartel, it would be far, far more difficult. If you had a global population mainly composed of extremely healthy, vital people, aware, alert, educated, independent, powerful, creative, this operation would have fallen into decay and dust a long time ago. The vaccinators, who are the poisoners, have reversed that trend successfully, and they've managed to blame all the poisoning effects on other things. That's their job. We didn't do that. Yeah, the baby just folded up and has now brain damage for the rest of his life just after the vaccination, but it has nothing to do with the vaccination. It's just some genetic thing kicked in. Believe that, if you will, or believe the truth. See you next time on InfoWars.